Is Nickland the AI demon Kabbalah? Apparently there's another Dark Enlightenment style thing. We'll watch this for a second.
In late 2025, Tucker Carlson pulled out this image on his nominal podcast. Many people were confused. What was it? Who made it? And what secrets doth it hold? Conrad Flynn tried to explain, only further confusing Carlson. But this was the work of...
Wait, do you know if JD Vance is like in with all of like the weirdo finance bro crypto people or whatever?
I don't get that impression. I've never seen him do any of the finance bro shit.
I thought he was, or like Peter Thiel. I thought he was like, for some reason, I thought he was like part of that faction or the Curtis Yarvin thing. He's in with Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel recommended him. Oh, that might be where it came from. Okay. I just don't know 100% how, I guess, but I don't know. I don't follow a lot of this stuff. Like I watched like, we watched like Joanna's video a long time ago related to all this, but I just don't follow it all, yeah.
Only further confusing Carlson. But this was the work of several members of the Cybernetic Cultural Research Unit, also known as the CCRU, the leaders of which was one such Nick Land. Despite the podcast playing him out to be a leading expert in the occult, AI doomsday enthusiasts might be dismayed to know that Nick Land actually has no background in AI, or technology, or demonology. Born in 1962 in presumably England, not much is known about Nick Land's childhood. He's left it purposely pretty opaque. The first we see him emerge is at 25 years old through his PhD thesis from the University of Essex, published in 1987 on Heidegger's Thoughts on the Young Poet Jörg Trakl. This got Land his PhD in philosophy, a true man of the liberal arts. Yes, that is completely right. Not a STEM kid cell in his body. After that, Land seems to land a job as a PhD supervisor at the University of Warwick. The sources tend to cite him as high, under the influence of several substances at his job, casually coughing as he'd let students into his smoke-filled office. He began teaching in the philosophy department and started mingling in the ideas of cybernetics and experimental theory, with a huge influence from Immanuel Kant for his grounding in critical philosophy, and Georges Bataille for his economic theory. Land's biggest influence by far seems to be that of Gilles Deleuze and Félix Guattari for their
I can't believe in 2026 we're getting Nick Land to discourse. I don't know much about any of this background stuff, but the I will say, going along with what I was talking about yesterday, it is kind of weird how many like actual schizo crazy people are part of the conservative movement now. Like your Eric Weinsteins and your Terrence Howards and your there's one other big one I keep forgetting, but people who are legitimately have like their physics theories of everything in the universe, but they're like, these are like crazy people. I don't know.
Grounding in critical philosophy, and Georges Bataille for his economic theory.
Oh, the Asian guy,
Land's
the professor
biggest
guy,
influence
yeah.
by far seems to be that of Gilles Deleuze and Félix Guattari for their major work Anti-Oedipus, whose dense, hyperbolic writing style and references to machinistic processes would stay ingrained in his works to this day. Land would often find thinkers like Nietzsche darkly comic. To give you a good understanding of his personality, quotes from him would go, "Think of life as an open wound, which you poke at with a stick to amuse yourself." The Cybernetic Cultural Research Unit would emerge from the University of Warwick in October 1995, co-founded by Dr. Sadie Plant, another Warwick professor. They'd soon be kicked out of campus grounds in 1999, though, due to a multitude of reasons, notably a lack of academic rigor, amphetamine abuse, and crazy raves with jungle music. A philosophy conference Len attended included a session in which he was lying on the ground, croaking into a mic, while jungle records played in the background.
Based.
The now anti-academia CCRU would then relocate to Lymington Spa, birthplace of Aleister Crowley, mind you, to a space above the body shop.
I saw some CCRU shit on TikTok, and I thought it was some fake schizo Agartha shit. Maybe he's like the Aegon Chalakian dude. They're not fake. They're out there. They're just very weird. Flint Dibble did a debunk on the predictive history guy. I mean, everything the predictive history guy says is like crazy out there. Wouldn't surprise me, yeah. I can't believe that it was Graham Hancock that Flint debated on Joe Rogan, right? Oh, Graham Hancock would be another one who thinks that there's like lost civilizations that are just out of reach that we just haven't quite discovered yet. And the fact that Joe Rogan like prefers Hancock over Dibble, like really? Dibble? Flint Dibble, right?
Locate to Lymington Spa, birthplace of Aleister Crowley, mind you, to a space above the body shop. One can only imagine the employees hearing weird EDM bass going on while trying to explain lotions to a customer. Despite this odd location, a wild lineup of names would join the CCRU, including Mark Fisher, who later developed K-Punk blog and wrote the acclaimed book Capitalist Realism, Ko Jae-shin, author of More Brilliant Than the Sun and a key figure in Afrofuturist theory, and Luciana Parisi, professor of literature at Duke University and author of Contagious Architecture, Competitions, Aesthetics, and Space. Most of them would find their association had aged like milk.
Why, hello there, intrepid viewer.
what brings you to this channel? Anyway, time for today's ad sponsor. Yeah! Have you ever wanted to learn about the Gnostic, the occult, the esoteric?
Oh my God. Is this one of the, what were the things that Dan was talking about? Fuck. Do you remember the key things for encrypting?
The keys?
A YubiKey? Is that a
Oh,
YubiKey?
yeah, the YubiKey.
Is that a fucking
sure.
YubiKey?
Eric, have you ever wanted to learn about Cthulhu and the old ones? Well, that's
Also, what the fuck is this microphone?
where this video's sponsor comes in. Yay! This video's sponsor is MVU, also known as Miskatonic Virtual University. Be it Abrahamic, Hermetic, or Memetic, MVU teaches courses for all levels of study. You want to learn about the AI singularity? You want to learn about Axis from the CCCRU, right? From the CCRU writings. You want to learn about Yagzagov's lineage? You want to learn about Axis from the CCRU writings? It's all in MVU's courses online for you! For you! Isn't that great? But wait, I hear you say, isn't this sacrilegious? Isn't this occult? And to that I say, yes, but also, there are other courses too. Learn about all your favorite Abrahamic religions through your favorite format. Watching a podcast with pundits who have never actually read the text at 2 times speed. And what's even better is MVU's offering a total of 42% off the first 50 million subscribers to their service. Yeah! That's actually really good. I got this sponsorship. Listen, I worked very hard for this. So be sure to scan the QR code here on screen so you can get your first year subscription with MVU.
That was a real sponsorship, right?
And
I think so.
Huge thank you
I
to
think so.
MVU for helping sponsor this video and support me and my channel. Back to the video. Huge fans of H.P. Lovecraft, notable writer and terrible cat namer, the CCRU would publish the CCRU writings 1997 to 2003. Reading this might make you question if you're accidentally reading nonfiction at first, since it starts as articles from real people and references real events in history. But about halfway through, you'll realize that
This looks like, I feel like I've gotten emails from people like this. First level of command, encrypts machine code BIOS. Oh, second level of command, encrypts assembly procedure, DOS. Third level of command, encrypts operating system Windows. Fourth level of command, okay.
from real people and references real events in history.
My daily email to Destiny. True.
But about halfway through, you'll realize that Miskatonic Virtual University, MVU...
It's a group of people taking schizophrenia as an actual mode of analysis. Okay.
But about halfway through, you'll realize that Miskatonic Virtual University, MVU, that certain authors reference, is a wink to a fictional university from the H.P. Lovecraft universe, and not a real university. At least, not yet. I won't cover the CCRU writings in depth since a friend of the channel, Lisa from Hijinks, can describe much better in her video. Link to that here. Either way, the CCRU would refer to this style of writing as hyperfiction, basically when a fictional text takes itself as reality. Not to be confused with hyperstition, which is an engineering of manifestation or practical fiction that is ultimately unworthy of belief. To the CCRU, nothing is true because everything is under production. This reflects the famous nihilist and anti-humanist stance the CCRU is known for, which is to say that nothing has value, including human life. Nick Lind would refer to humans as
worthy of study, but only as much as the experience of sea slugs.
You may even be curious what the
Don't Google H.P. Lovecraft's cat name. Don't Google whatever you do. Do not Google how long it took to get the Suez Canal unstuck. That's crazy.
But only as
I bet
much
it was
as the
67
experience
years.
of sea
What?
slugs.
6'7"?
You may even be curious about the cryptic symbols and systems like the numogram, or the demon logos that you see plastered everywhere on the archival CCRU website. See, Nick Lind would also like to know how to use the numogram, because even to this day, he's gone on record saying that he doesn't know how to use it, since it was made for sci-fi writings. So, the reason it seems so confusing is probably because it was made to be just that. Confusing. It does make for a pretty sick logo, though. Dr. City Plant, a
Wait. Where's the archive of this website? Nick Land is the modern incarnation of Lovecraft. ccru.net/ Philosophy has an
You gotta go.
Fuck you. Philosophy has an affinity with despotism due to its predilection for Platonic, fascist, top-down solutions that always screw up viciously. Schizoanalysis works differently. It avoids ideas and sticks to diagrams. Networking software for accessing bodies without organs, BWOs, machinic singularities, or tractor fields emerge through the combination of parts with, rather than into their whole, arranging composite, individuations in a virtual/actual circuit. They are additive rather than substitutive, and immanent rather than transcendent, executed by functional complexes of currents, switches, and loops, caught in scaling reverberations and fleeing, through intercommunications, from the level of the integrated planetary system to that of atomic assemblages. Multiplicities captured by singularities interconnect as desiring machines, dissipating entropy by dissociating flows, and recycling their machinism as self-assembling chronogenic circuitry. Okay. This is 100%. The snake is on the Ziggy Z tab? You mean this one? Okay.
A cyberpunkette, an expert in both feminist theory and cybernetics, would end up departing later due to her growing distaste with the CCRU's direction under land. And like an angry ex, he would evolve it into something even darker, anti-egalitarian and anti-humanitarian. During this time, Nick and the CCRU would start to co-opt Accelerationism, a term originally coined by Benjamin Noyes in his book Persistence of the Negative. The original concept references Marx and Engels' idea of capitalism having played a revolutionary role in feudalism, and suggesting capitalism might need to be accelerated towards its internal contradictions and transformed into what would be called communism. Nick Land took this a step further and suggested in his 1994 essay, Meltdown, that we should accelerate capitalism so hard that it should explode into some secret third thing. By this point...
Holy shit. It's the HDR color spaces.
By this point, his writing goes from PhD grad to dude screaming in the street you try not to make eye contact with. To quote him,
Meltdown has a place for you as a schizophrenic, HIV-positive, Chinese Latino addicted LA hooker with implanted mirror shades and a bad attitude. Blitz on a poly mix of synthetic serotonin and female analogs. You have just iced 3 Turing cops with a highly cinematic 9mm automatic.
And with this acceleration of capitalism evolution with no restrictions, including any value for human life, Land would birth fundamentals of accelerationism! At least the modern one. But not before doing more amphetamines until crashing out so hard he'd vanish. And then respawn years later in Shanghai. It would be during this time that Nick Land would come back online to publish his riveting works, such as Hyper-Racism on the Alternative Right blogspot. A notable, if not the most prolific of his works during this time period would be The Dark Enlightenment from 2012, in which he would say things like, democracy is bad, actually, aligning with a Mencius Moldbug, aka Curtis Yarvin, on things such as the Enlightenment was stupid and also dumb. To give a brief summation, he argues for neo-social Darwinism, anti-Abrahamic theism, anti-white nationalism, anti-racial nationalism, anti-progressivism, anti-conservatism, anti-democracy, anti-equality, and pro-hierarchy to crush all at the bottom, unless of course it's him. Surprisingly, this work is better researched and weirdly less inflammatory than more currently popular Nicks of a Fuentes variety. The Dark Enlightenment, though, still hits a bit of psychology, sociology, and biology, which of course Nick Ladd admits he never actually formally studied, but it seems like any proficiency in comp sci wasn't necessary for him to be taken seriously in AI either. Yet, what might be most misunderstood about Nick Land is that, above all, he is a man of the arts, and as such, he enjoys nothing more than the stage. Ian Hamilton Grant, one of Land's students...
Are you watching this? Because the creator of this video is apparently in town and wants to chat about this. I'm just trying to think if there's anything here that's relevant to anything that we're doing on stream. So I'm thinking... I figure I should watch the video first.
There was always a tendency in all of us to bait the liberal, and Nick was the best at it. And this brings us back to late 2025, where we can see a much older Nick Land at the age of 63, talking about his most recent appearance on Tucker Carlson's podcast. Land says,
Conrad had built a story that I almost was envious about. Like it was, I thought somehow more compelling, more cinematic, actually, than the version, as far as I'm concerned.
She's J-Reg's friend? Yeah, she's part of this, apparently Rowan, J-Reg, and a bunch of people are part of like some Toronto creator group. This is how I know this person. But I don't watch like any of their YouTube videos, so I'm not 100%.
Could be realistically attributed.
I don't actually know like what the political views of any of the people in that cohort are. I don't actually even know what J-Reg's political views are, I think.
Actually, then the version, as far as I'm concerned, could be realistically attributed to me. And I thought, Tucker's response of deep concern was also extremely entertaining, maybe I should say. I don't want to be too frivolous about it. It was very well done, very well done. And the moment where he is captured now a million times, holding up an image of the pneumogram, is world historic, honestly. I mean, I feel now like that if I went to my grave tomorrow, my role as a kind of entertainer would have been completely vindicated.
Say what you will about the man, but Dr. Nicholas Land knows how to do one thing extremely well: polarize. And perhaps that is a skill reflective of us as a society. Or perhaps it's a skill of those who should be known for exactly what they are: entertainers.
Base. Okay. Hello. Say something.
Hello? Hey, chat.
Okay. Don't talk to chat ever. Just talk
Not
to me.
talking to chat.
Okay. All right. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Tropicalstuck from Miami and also Toronto. Member of the CCCRU, but also not to be confused with the CCRU. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it so twisted. Yeah, hi, and I'm here to introduce some stuff about the Dark Enlightenment because I think it's stupid and also dumb. So.
Oh, I asked you before if you'd watched this video. Hold on. Because the only time I've ever seen or watched anything related to this was... Fuck. Somebody like me join this video on this. I don't know what her online name is. It's something feminist. Who's got it? Summarize the Dark Enlightenment in your own words.
In my own words. So the actual text by Nick Land is essentially just him going on this really anti-humanist rant. But quick summation is he really likes hierarchy. He really understands it fundamentally well. But also even with that, he wants to kind of just say, oh, everyone who's at the bottom should be poor and stupid and also should maybe die. So yeah, I fundamentally disagree with it because it's based on the premise of just everything in the Enlightenment was stupid, including egalitarian ideals.
What does it mean when you say he understands hierarchy well?
So the thing is that this
also wait, real quick. This was the video I was talking about. Have you seen or heard of this one before?
Dark Gothic MAGA. This is so beautiful.
Oh, I'm surprised. Okay. This is literally the only engagement I've ever had with this topic or anything adjacent to it was literally just this video, but I kind of blew about this. Mm-hmm. I'll park it back here in case. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. You said this before that he understands hierarchy really well. What do you mean by that when you say that?
So the thing is that he does understand hierarchy very well because actually I read even his PhD thesis for more, it's pronounced Warwick. I pronounce it Warwick because I refuse to acknowledge that the UK cannot remember to pronounce the extra W in the word. That's so stupid. So Warwick University. So he actually is very well, he's super knowledgeable about hierarchy and how it functions. And he references multiple people like Schopenhauer, Kant, literally any sort of philosopher you can name drop in most of his works, especially Phenomena, which was absolutely fucking awful to read, except for one of them called Delighted to Death, which was actually just him talking about how they brutally murdered Christian martyrs.
Okay.
So
wait, I'm asking this in a much more fundamental, retarded way. When we say hierarchy, what do we mean by hierarchy?
Hierarchy
As in he just understands the organization of social systems where there are some groups of people that are above other groups of people, or what do we mean by that?
Yeah, essentially. So he knows very well how people are cast within a system, and he understands what it looks like at a very macro perspective, and also how it functions through time.
Okay.
So in the article that I put in the video, Hyper Racism, he actually references the fact that it's not actually going to look like racism from the what the left idealizes racism as, or the right idealizes racism as, the Platonic ideal. And it's going to be more so what is the most fit to colonize other planets? Which is why I'm kind of just he's just a sci-fi writer with extra steps.
Gotcha. Did he ever do sci-fi writing at all, or has it always been okay?
He did the CCRU writings with a bunch of other people, but that was the book that was mentioned where it was they referenced Lemuria and all the Miskatonic Virtual University and all that.
Okay, wait, but then I didn't understand. When you say CCRU, was this did people really start to embody this as a real belief system, or was it always just supposed to be science fiction?
It started out as science fiction, and then they also had a sister organization called Orphan Drift that they did art collaborations with.
Okay.
But the thing is that Nick Land kind of turned it into a bit of a cult, and including that, they also they abused a lot of amphetamines so much that they called it like the divine drug or the divine inspiration or whatever.
Okay.
And
Amphetamines are base, but okay, go ahead.
I mean,
Just kidding. Don't abuse them. Go ahead.
Yeah, don't abuse them. But he essentially like made everyone crash out, and then he left. But that was when he went on his own stint of like writing things like Meltdown or like hyper racism, or everything that he wrote after he like despawned and then respawned in Shanghai, because he was like a very much Sino-futurist type. So
Okay.
yeah.
Sino-futurism meaning China's the future of everything or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's I don't know if he's onto something with that. I don't think so. But
why did the Dark Enlightenment, what was the connection for this book to ever become popular with, I guess, like Curtis Yarvin and all the Silicon Valley types? Like, how did they get connected through all of this stuff?
So actually, he regularly references, and he does this in a lot of his writings, he just pads out most of his fucking work with, am I allowed to curse?
Yeah.
Okay. He pads out most
No
of his
racial
fucking
slurs.
work. I promise I won't, even though I have all the passes, I think.
That's okay. Go ahead. Okay, so he references, yeah, go ahead.
He references, like, he pads out most of his work with just, like, actually just completely, like, plagiarizing, although I guess not actually plagiarizing because he quotes people, but, like, he'll take, like, huge swaths of, like, Curtis Yarvin's blog posts and use that to, like, pad out the Dark Enlightenment. But, this is Tropicalstuck? Yes, it is. Hi! But, wait, the question again was?
How do they connect? So when he's copying stuff from Curtis Yarvin for the Dark Enlightenment,
he's essentially just ripping off his ideas, but then building off of it. And the way that it got traction in the Dark Enlightenment itself was that essentially he there are some points in which he makes like these uncomfortable truths of like perhaps we do too much censorship, which is also something that Mark Fisher hits on.
Okay.
Who was also in the CCRU, but he's more of like a leftist, like he's a proto-left accelerationist.
Okay. And then real quick, when you say in the CCRU, this is past the point of it just being a science fiction thing and more into like the culty actual thing.
So they were actually a unit under Warwick University.
Okay.
And then they got kicked out. So afterwards, they were in that space above a body shop where they were doing all those raves and everything.
Gotcha.
But people that came in and out would they have multiple articles written on them because they were actually quite influential in the space, because apparently you didn't really need that many credentials to get like a PhD in philosophy from there. It was quite a new program. So everyone that was coming out of there was like super punk. Like they had shaved heads, they had like a bunch of colored hair. The pictures are actually really sick. That's why there's a bunch of jungle music playing. But Mark Fisher's also dead. Yeah, he is, unfortunately. R.I.P. King. But essentially, like, he has a nuanced perspective of, because the people that were in the CCRU were like Kojo Ishun, Sadie Plant, Mark Fisher, who were all extremely understanding of like where their spaces were in hierarchy.
Okay.
But on that exact point, Nick Land decides to say, oh, I see what you're doing. And in fact, I completely want to double down on the opposite. And I don't want to say that any of these people that I was originally associated with deserve any rights. And, even though he does take the stance of like Nazis and neo-Nazis being like stupid, and can I say like white slurs?
Sure. What white slurs?
He calls them crackers. Like,
That's
a
okay.
lot.
We're fine. This is a slur-friendly stream. We're good. So as he's ripping off from Curtis Yarvin, as they started this thing at which university was this? You said Warwick?
Warwick, but he's
and then
already
they
way
spun
past
off,
this point. Yeah.
Way past this point. Why do Silicon Valley types, of all the types of people, why do they get drawn into this, I guess, like, Dark Enlightenment group thing? Like, what is their...
So my favorite quote for myself about all of this is that all fans of Nick Land have never actually read Nick Land.
Sure, this is true of every single philosophy thing, literally fucking
the
ever.
The thing is that I read Phangnomena on stream. I read it for 28 hours, and like everyone who's actually interacted with it has never read it, because it has nothing to do with what acceleration is. Period. It's just his old works that he's recycled from like university essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And so
when you say I just had a quit. Never mind. Keep going. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait. When you say you mentioned before when we spoke about this that his book is like really hard to read, in terms of his writing? Does it all read like the CCRU website stuff, where it's like the topological substrate of the dissolution of the blah blah? Like it's just like it reads like a techno babble jargon thing, or is it just like
Towards the end, it does.
okay?
And some of them towards the end are literally just him writing in like Leet hacker code, but it's actually just Leet.
Okay.
And like he puts a bunch of stuff like slurs and talking about like sexual violence and things of that nature. And literally the last part, I wish I brought the book with me. It's just like him doing all these drawings of like the spine and then connecting it to like different theories of like what it relates to with the human spirit and like all this. It's really just like sci-fi shit.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, like the reason why Silicon Valley people like it is because essentially it's just like, oh, we don't have to have any morals for taking down people that are at the bottom. Okay, I'm down for that, because it's just like it says it's essentially like hyper social Darwinism, right?
Sure.
So it's like
Where they're selecting for the traits they just happen to be possessing, like in terms of money and being in computers and tech or whatever, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like it's funny because when you think about it, people who are the most likely to actually be in these positions of power are the most likely to actually be beat up by literally any jock in high school.
Sure.
So it's like I really would like to see you institute this in reality, but go off, I guess. And also it's just like it's really you're pandering so much to your own intellect as your form of any sort of value to society and to yourself, that it's just like it feeds directly into that sort of need of like that one person. It's very Nietzschean in that sense, to like have some sort of your worth is based almost exclusively on your intellect, and everyone else deserves to be poor because you're just the special one.
Do you think a lot of this bleeds into our actual political system through, like Vance, I guess, was the teal pick, or are there any other people in the administration, or is this just kind of like fringe Silicon Valley thoughts in ways that don't manifest politically?
No, I would say like a lot of the libertarian streak is especially as it relates to like the Vance types. I can't name them off the top of my head, but essentially, like they want to pander to this ideal because it is also where, because like let's say I remember looking at the stats for like the last election. It was like what were the biggest super PACs? It was like the first industry was oil,
Okay.
and then the second one was crypto. So it's like obviously the people who have the money to fund these things, even though they actually want to take no time to learn about like the liberal arts of it all or read any of these sort of things, like even if it's just as short as like 28 pages in like the fucking Communist Manifesto, which isn't even that like I'm not a communist, I can say that much, but like I can read it, you know, it's not hard, and then I can understand the principles from there, even though it's like more expanded upon in other works. But like it's just these people will not take the time to fully understand what it is that they're actually like going for, and it's just deeply hilarious. And I think it's best expressed in like Tucker Carlson's podcast, although he plays into it a little bit. But yeah, no, the Dark Enlightenment is essentially just like, I think that I am better because I have a higher IQ probably, and I went to school in Western society, and therefore I'm better than you, and everyone who is poor should stay poor, and everyone who's stupid should stay stupid. And I don't really believe in egalitarian ideals, and I don't really want wealth to be redistributed in any sense of the word.
There's a meme on Twitter that gets posted sometimes that I think is funny, where a guy will say something about Nietzsche, and then a guy will respond and he'll say like, you're not even taking this out, or you don't even understand what you're saying. Like, have you even read Nietzsche? And the guy's like, no, I haven't. Have you? And the guy's like, no, I haven't. And I feel like for a lot of, one of my biggest complaints about people that do this type of like ideology shopping are non-denominational Christians. So I grew up as Catholic, which is based of all the Christian religions. I'm very atheist now, but if you have a particular religion, if you're Baptist or evangelical, whatever, that's fine. But sometimes I get very irritated by like non-denominational Christians, because I feel like oftentimes what they're doing is they want to be able to absorb a lot of the like normative loading and value from their Christian text. So being able to say they have good morals and they're better than other people and they can dictate lifestyles to other people, but they don't know any of the underlying theology, and they don't know any rules beyond, like if you were to train an LLM on politicians and tech bros and and people on podcasts talking about religion, and you were to ask the LLM to put together, what do you think the Bible is based on what they say about it? It would just be like, it's Jesus like saying that OnlyFans whores are going to hell, that slavery is maybe okay, that women shouldn't have the ability to vote, and that men are based and should spend all of their time hunting. It's just like the dumbest, it's like the most characterized version of Christianity ever, right? Like the party of Christianity holds like people like Andrew Tate up as their role models, and it doesn't make any sense. Or even Donald Trump, who is like divorced 3 times, like bangs porn stars or whatever else.
Isn't it funny because like Andrew Tate was literally shilling Islam for a hot minute there?
Yeah, because for a while I think Christians were jealous because the Muslim people. I used to argue this like 10 years ago, where I'm like, you guys argue for such this weird backward society. I feel like you would like the crazy Sharia law stuff that you guys criticize all the time. And then 10 years later, they kind of got there where they were like, Islam is like cool and based, and Christianity is like gay and weak. And when you're Muslim, you can kill apostates and you can fight for your religion. But when you're Christian, you just have to accept trans people into your congregation. Yeah, and it was this like very cringe, reductive view of both religions and how and then people online like Sneeko and Andrew Tate like wanted to be Muslims because they thought they were so based, even though all of them, like Andrew Tate was a Muslim, I guess, for a while. I don't know if he still
I
is.
thought they were shilled by the Saudi government to do so.
I don't know if they ever had any official shilling or anything like that.
That was some rumor that I heard, so
Maybe,
I never actually checked in on that.
But I mean, like, they still owned like their OnlyFans like girls, which is very not okay. They still like gambling and drinking and like all these things that are super haram and everything, and they never really followed any of it. So yeah, it's just like super cringe.
I mean, in my fake ad, I literally said, what was it again? It was like, you can also learn about all your favorite Abrahamic religions, listening to your favorite pundits speaking about it at 2 times speed, despite never actually having read the text.
Engaging with any of the text ever. Yeah, it's very, very, very cringe and very annoying because you get people who are giving you what sound like abstracted summaries of texts that are just giving you quotes from other people that probably also haven't read any of it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but. Okay, wait. So who is this guy? Not Tucker Carlson. This guy. Yeah.
So
wait. Real quick, hold on, because somebody linked this in the chat. Have you heard of this guy? Somebody said you should
the
read.
Nazi philosopher behind post-liberal right.
Phil Magnus. It's just a Substack writer. I don't know if he's like a guy.
Carl Schmitt. Yeah, I've heard of Carl Schmitt.
No, this guy.
Phil Magnus. Oh.
No. Okay. Never mind. Way to go, Chatter, idiot. Okay, forget all of that.
Sorry, Chatter.
This guy. Who is this guy?
That's Conrad Flynn. He's a best way to put it, nepo baby. But also, like, he really likes the idea of, like, the occult as it relates to, like, rock stars and stuff. But, he really had no presence aside from what I saw in this podcast, because he had, like, a few, like, things on IMDb on, like, just general things as it relates to, like, once again, rock stars and the occult.
Mm-hmm.
But, this is, when you look him up now, this is all that comes up. So, he's... Does
he have any formal connection to, like, Nick Land or that guy or any of those people, or no? Okay, this is just
like friends in Silicon Valley, but that's about it. He references that in this podcast.
Okay.
But you want to watch it?
Yeah, we'll watch a bit of it at least. Coming into this, wait, and then just curious, what exactly how would you characterize your political views?
My political views? I like to call it like post-dark because I think like the Dark Enlightenment is just really stupid, but it's just like essentially just the Enlightenment.
What is post-dark? Isn't that just normal Enlightenment?
It's just Enlightenment, yeah. It's just like
are you like in Canada? Are you a voter of like the Liberal Party, or I don't know what they're called in Canada? The Carney people.
I'm new to because I moved there like a year ago.
Okay.
I'm new to the voting system there, but yeah, I'm mostly just like essentially like the Liberal Party, not the Conservative.
Okay.
Pierre Poilievre, you can suck my dick.
What, you don't like Pierre? Oh, never mind. Sorry.
Compared to Carney.
Compared to Carney, yeah. Wait, he was the guy who was the leader of the Conservative Party
that
got destroyed by Trump, basically. Yeah. I have one more question, but I forgot it. Okay. This guy. Okay. Are you ready?
Yes.
Well, 1.5. I hate these people.
I remember the first...
Wait, it's way too loud. Also, that was way too fast. Hold on.
Time somebody said to me during an interview that something or other was demonic, used the word demonic. It cannot have been more than 6 years ago, and I was completely shocked that someone would use that term because it's not a political term. It doesn't even describe like any human social interaction. It's a spiritual term, and I just was not used to people using spiritual terms to...
Wait, him and... do you watch Candace Owens stuff ever?
I occasionally interact with it just out of the sake of like watching Schadenfreude, or getting Schadenfreude. But yeah.
why? So Tucker Carlson has leaned into this a bit over the past year. I feel like I've heard Candace say stuff like this, where they're using like spiritual terms like demonic or whatever. Is this? Do you think they genuinely believe this stuff, or what's your take on that?
No,
okay,
not in the slightest. I remember there's a clip of Tucker Carlson saying, "Oh, sorry, guys." There's a clip of Tucker Carlson saying, like, I don't. It related less to religion, but it was more so like, if I'm ever the minority within my own country, I don't care who it is. I don't want anyone speaking on my behalf as a white person. And so I really fundamentally do not believe that, like, he speaks on, like, an ideological basis for, well, I'm sure he speaks on the basis for other people, but as it relates to himself, I do not believe that he's not huffing his own cobe, you know?
Okay. All right. Oh, also, wait, what is the thing on your neck? What is
This?
that? Yeah.
It's a secret.
But then why would you wear it so everybody can see it? Just so you can feel cool by saying it's a secret?
Yes.
Okay.
Describe social movements or political developments or whatever. But I think in that time, in the last 6 years, things have really changed. And I hear it all the time. It's demonic, they're demons. There is this sense that there's a spiritual underpinning, that there's something going on beneath the surface in American society and in the world that's affecting...
You're good.
I think my favorite thing is that he's acting as though he's not the one perpetuating this.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like I usually hear Tucker Carlson saying
He's
these
the one
things.
starting it.
Yeah.
Comes and affecting populations, and like there's spiritual war in progress. You, and I hope you'll explain this, and I'll get...
One of the things that I do for debates, and one of the things I wish media people did more, was I actually hate like they, them type pronoun things. Like I wish that people were forced to give examples when they're talking about other people referencing things. So when you say something like I think they've ruined the U.S. government, or like who are you talking about in particular? Or yeah, when these people bring up these demonic things, or when people push for 4-year-old trans people, when people whatever, like who are you talking about? Because I think when you push, one of the biggest frustrating things between the dichotomy of left and right in the U.S., and when I go on peers or whenever I'm arguing with people, I always argue this, is there is like a crazy left and there is a crazy right, but the crazy left are like inconsequential people on Twitter, or sometimes like students at schools, and the crazy right is like the entire conservative movement in the United States. It's like every lawmaker, it's Mike Johnson, it's Thune, it's Donald Trump, it's the people in the cabinet, and there's like obviously there's a huge asymmetry here, but they get away with saying things like, oh, like these people are they, or they've mentioned, it's like, who the fuck are you talking about? And then it always leads people listening to think like, oh, I guess like Kamala must have been talking about this, or Biden was talking about this, or all the Democratic elected people are talking about this.
Where's the source? Prophetic dream?
Yeah, I don't know. Or the cardboard monsters that he imagines that he builds for himself to get upset with.
The sleep paralysis demons?
True, yeah.
Get out of the way in a second, but you kind of stumbled into an extended research project on this topic. Are there actual occult connections to Hollywood, to political figures, to technological advances, to the leaders of our society? Are some of them actually practicing occult religion?
I don't know what your take is on this. You can always disagree with me also if you disagree, but one of the most frustrating things that I find, the Epstein stuff is highlighting this. Candace Owens has done this for like the past 2 years, is people are obsessed with this idea of like the one world government cult organization that runs every single thing behind the scenes. Historically, sometimes it's been the Jews, other times it's just been wealthy people, other times it's been, whatever leaders of military industrial complex. I think that sometimes there are like elements of truth to this, right? Like AIPAC obviously has an interest, in lobbying for Israel. Netanyahu obviously has influence over the U.S. government. Wealthy people obviously have influence over media and stuff. But the like very top-down, single-minded entity control, I feel like it's like thought terminating. But yeah,
I think it's so funny because I think the fact that the Epstein files came out and everyone realized, oh, we actually just know all these people by name.
Sure,
like there was no surprising names in there.
Yeah, there wasn't like a secret, I guess, like cult leader or a top secret. Yeah, it's just a bunch of people that all meet and talk and do shit or whatever. And yeah,
I remember seeing a tweet where it was like this English London-based influencer saying like, oh, if you weren't in the Epstein files, you just weren't cool enough.
Oh my God, yeah,
That
I remember
was
seeing.
Funny.
Well, I think one of the funniest things was fucking Elon Musk getting rejected from going to like a party or whatever when apparently they said they didn't want him there. He wasn't allowed to go, which I thought was really funny.
It's so beautiful.
Have you seen this? I know what clip this is, just from the title, but have you seen this before?
I wake up at 2:30 in the morning and I couldn't breathe at all. My throat was closed. So I get up, I stand in the doorway of our bedroom, and I'm like, wow, I'm dying. I can feel myself starting to gray out. I walk back in and my wife wakes up. She goes, what is going on? I said, I don't know, I can't breathe. I feel better now, and all of a sudden I had this horrible pain underneath my arms. I thought I'd been like ripped with a knife or something. So I go into the bathroom, I flip on the light, and I have claw marks on both sides, and they're bleeding. So I show my wife, and she's like, oh my gosh. And then I have this like crazy intense desire to read the Bible. So I read the Bible, and I pass out in like 2 minutes, and I wake up, and the next morning I thought, man, did I have a wild
Wait, maybe the music isn't added. Is this his official account?
Yeah.
dream? And then I see blood in my sheets, and I go in the bathroom, and I have these bloody marks. And my wife goes, I think you were attacked by some supernatural being. And I was like trying to be logical about it. And I was like, yeah, I definitely was. And then I called one of my producers, who's like, oh yeah, that's pretty common.
That's common.
I was like,
Talk
what?
about you.
I wake.
Yeah.
Jesus
Happens to me all the time.
Christ. Okay. Anyway, that's Tucker Carlson. Wait, how long ago was that? I feel like that was more than 6 months ago.
That's so.
I wake up.
Because the thing is that
I wake up.
I've read interviews from him. He's like deeply an aristocratic person. Like his family sent him to an international school in Switzerland that he got kicked out of, mind you. And it was like probably 50K USD a year. And it was like, I think for middle school. Mind you, his family also owns an island in Nova Scotia. He's not your everyday man. He never has been.
Yeah. Read the comments of the short. Why would the date not be here right away? Click the 3 buttons on for the description.
Description, yeah.
I can read, thank you. Okay.
Are you sure?
Yes. November 16th, 2025. 4 months ago. Okay, 5 months ago.
Corporate media is dead. Join us at Bit.ly.
Always. Okay. All right.
Yeah, Tucker, it's about as weird as you said. Some would say, I think we're going to find out even weirder.
This all-American opening is just so cringe to me.
I also love this all-American opening because it's right after some guy in chat said, whoever claimed Tucker was an everyday man, LOL. Bruh. The twangy guitars,
Literally.
come the fuck on.
Like, he doesn't, it's all...
The banana peel, LOL. Oh, look at this. How is this not an everyman intro?
Oh, yeah,
Oh, look,
at
they're
the
hunting.
shotgun.
Yeah, wow.
Oh, yeah, so cool. He owns an island in Nova Scotia, Canada. Like, his family just has that. Look
So
it up.
how did you? I mean, you're not a theologian that I'm aware of.
No, and if I was a very amateur theologian. No, I'm not a scholar, as many will find out about me.
But how did you wind up coming to the conclusion that some of the people who help shape our culture or build our technology were literally practicing occult religion?
I'll tell you. Well, I was working on a television show, trying to build out the show. I should back up. I come from a Hollywood family, Tucker.
Yeah.
My grandfather was the actor Robert Conrad. If you've some of your listeners, Wild Wild West, Black Sheep Squadron, you go way back, Hawaiian Eye. My other grandfather, Harry Flynn, was a publicist in the for decades. The Monkees, Bewitched, I Dream of Jeannie, 2 occult shows, Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie. Maybe it starts there. Not unlike
he broadens the definition to occult. He broadens the definition of occult very, very wide.
Yeah, okay. So occult is so he would consider like Harry Potter as like a cult.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he goes into the definition after, but he's just like he's honestly, I think probably my favorite out of researching all of this, because it was absolutely fucking hellish reading through all of Nick Land's work. I think I lost probably years off of my life doing so. He was the one that actually made it genuinely wrap all back around into being very funny.
Intentionally or unintentionally?
I think he knows exactly what he's doing, and he knows how to make a good story.
Okay.
It's exactly what Nick Land said at the end of the video. Conrad Flynn created a narrative that I found almost cinematic.
Okay. They're also for you can push the spacebar here if you want to pause this when you're speaking. But
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. So this guy, you think? So wait. So you think this guy is?
Oh, he's just Nepo baby.
But also like doesn't genuinely believe in the crazy occult
Oh,
stuff?
absolutely not.
No. Okay. So this is 2 men who don't actually believe this, pretending that they actually believe it for the audience to be.
Yeah, you're
actually believing it.
Because the thing is that also at the same time, like Tucker Carlson, you've been in the industry this long, you've never seen anyone practicing anything occult, like at all, in Hollywood.
Okay, gotcha.
of Jeannie, 2 occult shows, Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie. Maybe it starts there. I mean, not unlike your own father working in journalism, as a boy, one of the first things you learn when you have parents who work in media or entertainment, you learn that the People magazine version of reality is not the truth. That there is a difference.
That is accurate, yes.
So I mean, we're not getting into occultism yet, but we're getting into the fact that as a boy, you learn that the way things are presented, not always conspiratorial, but you're always being shown a facade usually.
That's right.
From the mainstream. I can't believe I'm saying mainstream media already a minute into this, but things are not what they seem. So as a boy, I was always told and shown that. So years later, I taken to Hollywood these various show concepts, and one of them, Tucker, I was working on was about when actors first break into the business. Where do they live? How do their lives go? It was a very wholesome show about the origins of actors and show business, but it was getting think,
you come to LA from Nebraska. What happens?
How does
next?
this work?
Yeah.
But that gets into a basic thing. You probably had this as a boy yourself, of wanting to know how do things work? You've seen the facade, so what's the truth? You know, how
Exactly.
How does any show work? How are stars made? So I was working on this show, and COVID happened. Hollywood kept lighting itself on fire. I sold it to BuzzFeed, and then while they're drawing up the contract,
Casually.
BuzzFeed went out of business.
Do what?
So it was a
Casually just
curse.
sold to
volatile moment.
BuzzFeed.
Oh.
It was a cursed show. The wholesome one was cursed. So at some point in 2022, I'd always had a dream project of mine, just a casual interest of doing a show about rock and the occult, about the secret history of all these things that people are generally interested in. But
Rock.
Rock
Like
and
The
the
Rock?
occult. No.
Oh, rock and roll. Like, okay.
Yeah,
never mind.
if
Just
only it
kidding,
was
sorry.
The Rock. That would be
Okay.
way funnier.
Gotcha.
there's never been a kind of scholarly, in-depth hearing from everybody, not too biased take on of, Jimmy Page being into Aleister Crowley being on the Beatles albums, things that, maybe we can dispel some myths, but also there's always interesting, actual weird stuff going on.
Yeah.
So I wanted to take that show out, and it became kind of like,
not all of this is a figment of your imagination.
Oh, no. It was not, as I learned I don't say the hard way, but no, so that was the basis of it.
You mean to tell me that the entirety of the Satanic Panic actually had a basis in just actually rock and roll being counterculture to all of the Christian, I don't want to say Christian nationalism, but Christian sentiment going on at the time? Whoa.
This was the same satanic cult stuff that this was 80s stuff where
80s, leads into the 90s as well, but yeah, it's just oh my god, I'm so shocked.
Have you watched any of the do you know who JCS is?
No.
He does police interrogations. There's another guy, I don't remember his name, he's Australian, but he goes over the whole is this satanic cult stuff, is it the same thing as all the parents that thought that their kids were being
Satanic Panic, yeah.
Yeah, that stuff.
Yeah.
Are these similar movements, or do they run concurrently, or is this a totally separate thing?
It's running concurrent, but also they were attributing it to anything from D&D to rock and roll music. If you play this one record backwards, it's actually just it's playing satanic summonings and whatever, what have you. But I think who was it, Ozzy Osbourne, that bit a bat's head off on stage. There were some things that you weren't really helping the case, but
Sure. But also, I mean, they've always been weird.
It was
people.
Black Sabbath, okay.
Artists historically, I think, have always been kind of weird people. But for some reason, I guess as we go through school or whatever, we kind of idolize older artists. We kind of think that Shakespeare was this, if he even existed as a singular person, people say, but we imagine all of these playwrights and all of these actors as being kind of prestigious folk instead of kind of the wacky social outcasts. I think that historically they always kind of have been.
Yeah.
And then for more recent people, where we see them acting wacky, they think that that's completely contradictory to how they used to act. One of the things when I was talking with Candace that is really irritating to me, and I try to remember this now because now
Candace
I've hidden.
Owens?
Yeah. We did an interview over there. It was terrible. But when we, so I'm 37 now, and I'm old enough to where there's a generation that's under me that is now kind of doing culture stuff. And I try to think when I'm criticizing stuff, am I saying the exact same thing that every single generation said before? Because if so, I'm probably just falling into a generational thing that isn't actually doing anything or showcasing anything of value. It's just an average generational reaction. So when it comes to music, Candace was talking about how the music today is making people disgusting and they're doing weird sexual shit and it's horrible and it's corrupting our youth or whatever. And I think I asked her, and I don't think she really engaged with it, but I'm like, does it give you pause that every single new generation of older people have criticized every single new generation of music as corrupting the youth? And whether you're talking Elvis Presley and rock and roll, or whether you're talking about weird...
Oh no, he shook his hips.
Yeah, or girls are showing their ankles, or musicians are using cuss words or whatever. It seems like this is a thing that just happens over and over and over again. But then every time people hit a certain age and they start doing this, they act like there's a novel thing that's going to destroy society in a way it never has before. And sometimes I feel like people don't ever engage with that. Or maybe they do and they're just trying to make money selling their shows anyway. So who knows?
I think there's probably value in both. I want to be at least one of the old people that's no matter what, I think it's cool.
Sure.
My grandma has electric blue hair. So she's based. I love her.
Okay. Based.
Wanting to doing research for this show, which was tentatively titled "Running with the Devil," and I brought in a legendary rock critic, Stephen Thomas Erlewine from AllMusic, his colleague Ned Raggett, and then the creators of the Osbournes, the recently departed Ozzy Osbourne, Sue Kalinsky, and Greg Johnson. So I brought in legit people. I brought in some of the best critics we have in rock to do a show that would, we'd have Christians and pastors, we'd have occultists. One of my experts on the show was this guy, Mitch Horowitz, who I think you knew. I forget if it was at Salon or
former editor.
Yeah. Mitch Horowitz, my favorite part of this entire fucking podcast is this exact moment where he's like, oh yeah, love him, super nice guy. And then keep playing.
Of mine, yep.
Yeah.
Very nice guy.
Well, he became an expert on the occult. I talked to him. A very nice guy. I think he's a self-described Satanist.
That was after I knew him.
That was after we got to clarify that. Yeah. So
Wait, no, what?
Self-described.
Oh, he's trying to say that.
He's trying to say that he's trying to say that he was not a self-described Satanist as they were working together.
Okay.
And a super nice guy. No, he was.
Okay, and then also, what does Satanist mean?
Like, I mean, are you talking about like which sect?
Or because I feel like I feel like I've seen things of Satanism that is very much just like secular egalitarian views on things where they don't believe in much. But then I've also heard of Satanist people referred to as like torturing animals and whatever. Like, is this like referring to a specific subset of beliefs or
So there's different sects of Satanism from what I understand. There's like the Church of Satan, which is actually the ones that got like abortion rights passed in Alaska, I believe.
Okay.
Back during like the Sarah Palin days.
Horrible time.
Yeah. And it's surprising too for Alaska, but like they did it on the same principle of like it's our religious beliefs, therefore we should have this sort of right. And so they're more in like we use Satan as a figurehead to perpetuate like the fact that we believe like church and state should be separated.
Okay.
But
this is what I'm familiar with when people talk about it online. But then go ahead.
And then there are other people that are actually just like, I would like to sacrifice things because I believe that Satan has my back and like we're homies and stuff and we do Pilates on the weekends.
Okay, based.
While doing this show, it's all a long way to say. While creating this show and taking it around town, I'm another guy that was a big influence, Gary Lockman, this occult historian, a friend of mine. While doing this show and trying to get it created, I would tell people I know in tech because I know a lot of people in different circles. If I want superpowers, I know a lot of different people and have a lot of strange hobbies and interests that kind of the Venn diagram is very unique to me. So while creating this show, the people in tech and the people, some of I know in Silicon Valley or politics, they go, "That's a great concept for a show," and then they'd say, there's some of the stuff going on in Silicon Valley. There's some weird kind of Aleister Crowley cults there, or while researching, one of the guys we'll talk about, Nick Land, who's huge in Silicon Valley. His influences were identical with some of the hardcore industrial music, goth music, psychedelic guys in the 80s.
So it's funny because he mentions Aleister Crowley earlier. Nick Land is hugely influenced by H.P. Lovecraft, Aleister Crowley, other people that I can't name off the top of my head, but like obviously this is of the time period of counterculture. Like he's going to Warwick University in a new program for like a PhD in philosophy where they're doing things like attaching fake robotics to people's arms to take cool photos, and like it's just like tying in like broader esotericisms and or like hermeticism into like a sci-fi sort of context. But it's just indicative of the time because it is counterculture to the heavy Christianization that's going on during this time period in the West, at least.
Yeah. We talked about this before. One of the things that irritates me sometimes is when you read anything, but especially history, is we tend to read it in like a very cold, black and white, like historical fact. And when you don't exist like at the time, if you don't speak the language, you don't engage with the art or the culture, it's really hard to know how those things actually like play out. Like, what do the people at the time actually perceive them to be as? Because when you just read statements in the future about it, it's like, it doesn't really convey like accurately what the people at the time, I guess, like felt about those things. So one of the examples I give is that, like, if you quote like old world leaders and you use these as like examples of how the country was doing at the time, if you were to think about like right now Trump, if you go 50 years into the future and you were to quote Trump and it's like, well, Trump said that every American was happy. Like if that quote showed up in a history book, you would just like read it and be like, oh, I guess Americans were pretty happy. But like living through the time period, you're like, this was like nobody interpreted it this way. Like everybody knew how wacky this was.
Yeah.
And like the level of serious engagement that people have with topics. Like when I was growing up, I don't know, I think you're almost a generation below, but like when I was growing up, there were a lot of people who were like goth kids in high school and stuff and like scene kids. I
was definitely, I never pulled off the aesthetic as well, but I was definitely part of those people.
Yeah, but they weren't really. There was like counterculture fashion, and then maybe they would do kind of some weird stuff to like rebel against their parents, but these people were not like critically engaging with like a huge like plethora of literature about like goth, whatever, like any philosophy, psychology, whatever. They were just like counterculture kids that listened to certain bands or whatever.
Looking away because I did actually really like
okay, maybe you did.
Literature.
Sure, maybe you did, but most people weren't. They went to Hot Topic, they bought the clothes, they had the spiky things, and like that was it. But sometimes people get so,
I don't know. Mary Shelley is like actually kind of based. She had like she had sex on her mother's grave.
That's cool. Okay, that's kind of cool. Wait, when did she die?
Really early on, because I believe that she published.
No, I mean, like, what year? I have no idea what year.
I don't remember, man, off the top of my head. But
Okay.
like she, she's like one of the, and also the modern Prometheus is like so indicative of like the time period that we live in now, which is funny because Guillermo del Toro made that movie, but it had nothing to do with actually the book because it's actually really good and probably one of my favorites. But it's like about essentially how do we know if we're taking technology too far, and if we've created something that is like not only like are we treating it terribly, but also will it hurt other people because we've treated it terribly, like we haven't actually taken any safeguards into account, and we've done all of these. I mean, the Frankenstein's monster was treated terribly, but anyway, needless to say, Mary Shelley's really cool. Read the book if you haven't. It's like actually quite short, and she wrote it in a fucking weekend.
Based? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Is that I was researching because this is hardcore occult stuff. So for me, Tucker, at some point I was like, and it kept occurring to me, why when I'm researching this show and also hearing about what's going on in Silicon Valley with weird stuff, why am I hearing about the same stuff? And why are these people, again, you think of Silicon Valley, you think of the modern, elite as being secularists, rationalists, people who have a, no religion for me, thank you, attitude towards stuff. Why are they into the same stuff that Kenneth Grant, Genesis P. Orridge was into, Brian Geist, and William S. Burroughs? Why are they into the same weird stuff?
So that sorry. William S. Burroughs is a based fucking author. But anyway, why are they into this stuff? It's because I don't know, it's cool and they don't understand what's going on. They want to go to the weird sex parties after the stupid networking events.
Based.
To answer your question, that was the entry point into this for me, is having researched the show and being such a nerd about it. I knew it forwards and backwards. That when I started to get into the tech stuff, I realized I was researching the same thing.
It's interesting. So here's the distinction that I make in my mind, and it's between people who are participating in occult practices and have no idea that they are.
Right.
People who are, participating in abortion and don't see it, don't understand it as what it is, which is a child sacrifice ritual as old as Canaan.
How many?
Who are used.
How many abortions have you paid for, Tucker Carlson?
Is that like a thing for him? Has he?
No, I'm just accusing him of things.
Just in case.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Oh, you're just okay. Thank you for clarifying. So
yeah, no,
the
I'm just
stream is
accusing
legal
him.
safe. Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, actually, it wouldn't surprise me. I think he has a family, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's very gay coded to me, but
You think he's gay coded?
a little bit.
He doesn't strike me as gay. He strikes me as like theater kid.
Yeah, those guys are all gay coded to me, I guess. But maybe
I know
they're not
too many
actually.
theater kids that are like
That are not gay?
definitely straight, but like also like you could see why people might consider them like gay coded. But I
Okay.
think it's just a matter of like I have no problem with my like
Effeminate mannerisms or something.
Yeah.
Or, okay.
which I think is
Seeing-
based.
hallucinogenic drugs, which are clearly a portal for demonic as old as Canaan,
Sorry, hold on. I missed some of
and
this.
don't see it, don't understand, have no idea that they are.
Right.
People who are, participating in abortion and don't see it, don't understand it as what it is, which is a child sacrifice ritual as old as Canaan, who are using hallucinogenic drugs, which are clearly a portal for demonic possession.
Okay.
What the fuck?
Really quick,
most people
the
don't
word
know that.
witchcraft, I think in Greek it's pharmakai, I think it is. So there's always a natural link between
Kind of,
putting yourself.
not really. I don't know. 'Cause
I like when people find links like through like etymology or whatever, and they're like, you think you know this about this thing, but actually if you look at the root of the word, it's actually something totally different, and now that's like mind fucked your whole existence or whatever. And it's like, does that actually matter that much?
Well, the thing is that if you look at like like anthropology, to an extent, during a huge portion of this time period, they did see medicine as magic. So pharmakai made sense as a word, like as a Greek origin word. But
Sure.
like once again, we've split the definition up in the more modern sense.
Sure.
So,
And I don't believe in smuggling like all this hidden crazy thought into like the etymology of words. I think it's a little bit dumb sometimes where people
Yeah.
think that like if you can sneak in this thing that all of a sudden it's like subtly transforming your minds. Like I think you can play games with language to kind of move people's opinions in other ways, but not like that. Like a Manchurian candidate, like you're activating some secret part of your mind because the root of the word is in another language that you've never learned before or whatever. I think gets kind of silly. Yeah.
I mean, he's trying to attribute two things here. That it's like one is literally just like it's just a word that has two offshoots in the modern language. One of them being medicine, the other one being whatever he said.
Sure. Yeah. The whatever portal or weird, magical shit.
Altered states. There we go. Because also there is historical precedent for like during the Eleusinian mysteries that they used hallucinogenic drugs for Like they had like these jars that they would dig into and they found hallucinogenic properties in them. But we're not really sure if they even actually used it for that. So, take it with a grain of salt.
Etymologies are cool because you can see the semantic evolution of a word, but it obviously doesn't inform the current meaning. LOL. It's more like a cool trivia thing. Yeah, I think I would agree with that. It reminds me sometimes of, is it Margaret Sanger? Is an earlier proponent or whatever of abortion, and people are like, oh, this person was racist, so if you support abortion now, it's because you were misled by people that hated black people like 60 or 70 or 80 or 90 years ago or whatever. Or people that'll say things like, oh, well, did you know that the Republicans are the ones who ended slavery and the Democrats fought against it? And it's like, these are political parties. Yeah, like 60, 70 years ago, like why would this inform how I view a political party today, right? Like I wouldn't even say today, like, oh, Donald Trump should be pro-war because Bush was, because that wouldn't make sense because the political parties have changed so much, although Donald Trump is now pro-war, which is another thing, but a whole other thing. But
they would say
the party of Lincoln. They say, yeah,
static states or altered states.
Wait, which ones are the racist ones? Someone wait. I thought it said which parties are the racist ones now, and I was like based, but
think between putting yourself. They would say ecstatic states or altered states. That's always been the. I mean, there's a kind of lurid story behind the witch's broom in terms of what she's doing to work herself up into that state. But yeah, it's all about.
But she's doing it intentionally. I guess that's the distinction that I would make. In a secular country, a free to be you and me country, there are a lot of people who are doing things because they're fun or interesting, or everyone around them is doing them, and they don't understand the spiritual consequences. But then
you're telling me, Tucker Carlson, that you have never done a hallucinogenic drug, which I think he does admit to later on.
That's why the demons were able to come back when he had that dream.
Yeah.
Once you open the gateway one time, it's always open a little bit. Yeah.
It gets even more abstract in like what he tries to connect it to later, but it's fun.
Oh boy.
There's another category, and this is the dividing line in my head. There's a category of people who are seeking power from supernatural forces that they acknowledge are absolutely real.
Right.
And they're practicing an occult religion, and they're doing it with self-awareness.
Right.
And I always felt like there weren't that many of those. But what I've learned from you, from our extensive text exchanges over the past year, is that there are
he is
actually
a
some
little
of those.
gay-coded.
Yeah, I know he is, of course.
Quite a few of those.
Oh, but totally. I mean, look at it a couple ways. So, among other things, Tucker, we're living through.
Holy shit!
Now that you mentioned, no, it's just like he has a very Twinkie vibe about him.
He absolutely does. Also, is this guy like an occult warrior? Does he fight against occult people? Is that why he has a Ghostbusters shirt on? I just noticed the Ghostbusters undershirt.
No, I think he's just a huge fan of sci-fi.
Oh, okay.
Which is really funny. Like,
wait, does Ghostbusters count as
sci-fi?
fantasy or sci-fi?
I think it's sci-fi because they use like tools that are science coded to get the demons and ghosts and stuff.
Okay.
Actually, some of those, quite a few of those.
Oh, but totally. I mean, look at it a couple ways. So, among other things, Tucker, we're living through an explosion in. I mean, occult's a big, broad term.
Yes. What does it? Can we define it?
I mean, it technically means the hidden. But there's a book written by these guys that they ran in a occult bookstore in New York in the 70s. It's called Bull from Heaven or something like that. But one of their definitions, it had to do with New Age, elements of New Age philosophy and neo-pagan thinking, I think, was part of their definition. But it got broadened out a bit. Occult can also just mean interest in New Age, which accounts for like 80% of Americans, whether it's astrology.
So remember when we were talking about like, he completely broadens what the meaning of occult is?
Yeah.
Yes. He says it's attributed to like 80% of Americans. Do you like Pokemon? That's a cult.
Yeah. But it also even is like the things that he's referring to here. Like when we say astrology, like it might be that 75% of women like engage with astrology, but it's probably like less than 2% that like seriously engage with astrology, right? Like the idea of like, oh, I read your horoscope or like I look at your moon chart or whatever is one thing versus somebody who's like, I'm only going to make decisions about my career, my life in this phase of the receding, rising Venus because I know that blah, blah. Like that's probably a very, very, very small percentage of them that are actually seriously engaging with it.
Well, don't you ever know when Mercury's in Gatorade or whatever?
In Gatorade? What color Gatorade?
Red, yellow, I don't know.
I don't know, but I'm sure there would be a girl that would tell me if it was. So.
I mean, interest in New Age, which accounts for like 80% of Americans, whether it's astrology, whether it's the concept of manifesting, which is, the law of attraction type stuff. That stuff is huge.
The law of attraction is a cult.
True.
To you about it's also huge on the right in terms of Maha, Make America Healthy Again. These ideas that we don't think of as being too goth or too occult or too out of the mainstream have become incredibly mainstreamed over the last decades. But I mean, even going back to 19th century America, they were there, and even 18th. But since the 60s, they've exploded. But they've become so ingrained in our lives, we don't typically notice their origins.
We don't see them as a cult.
No. But we're also living through a goth explosion. I know you're not a huge.
So the funny thing is that he refers to this as though there was like not any sort of occult tendencies in humanity prior to this. And it's like, what the fuck are you on about? Like,
one thing I don't like is when people have people do this in debates. The recent debate I had with Constantine, he got mad because I tried to define a word. Like I was like, can we get a definition for wokeism? Was a thing that we were fighting. I was like, can we define wokeism? Because people will live in multiple worlds when they're having a conversation, and this is a thing that like it bores me so much and it makes me instantly hate all of these conversations. Like what he just said in terms of the occult stuff didn't used to be that popular or whatever. That is, strictly speaking, probably true if you use the narrow definition, but then he says it's gotten more popular by using like the broader definition, right? Because I'm sure there were a ton of people that engaged with a ton of stupid shit that were superstitious about literally fucking everything. My grandma had a million different superstitions about like fucking bingo night and how many old wives' tales were there about, like, is putting your tooth under a pillow when it comes out, is that like an occult thing? Like it's not religious. It's not.
This, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, people.
Any sort of neo-pagan beliefs.
Yeah. So people will borrow, like, is Santa Claus leaving presents? Like, couldn't that arguably be like an occultish thing? Maybe. Yeah.
You know, the boogeyman.
Sure. Maybe. Yeah. Yeah.
Don't see them as a cult.
No, but we're also living through a goth explosion. I mean, I know you're not a huge you sit in front of the TV and watch Netflix guy, but like shows like Wednesday, Stranger Things.
Yeah, you can always hit the space bar too. Yeah, okay. Go on.
I fucking hate Wednesday, the first season. When that season came out, everyone asked me if I had seen it before. I purposely have never watched it because everyone compared me to Jenna Ortega. If you ever do that, I will kill you. I hate you. Do not talk to me.
I have no idea what Wednesday is. Wait, is it about the Addams Family?
Yes.
She's the girl.
Yeah.
You are kind of like, no, I'm just
no.
kidding. I have no idea. I've never seen it.
No.
Horror is, in terms of box office, shows like Wednesday, Stranger Things, horror is, in terms of box office, maybe not in terms of creativity.
Wait, it's also funny that he would bring that up as an example of things. I can't speak to Stranger Things, but like Wednesday would have been a character from the Addams Family, which was immensely popular. I don't know when did they start, but it was in black and white initially, right? Addams Family related stuff. So like, these are literally remakes of things. Also, like, there's no way that.
When did the Addams Family come out?
Like 60s?
It's like I Dream of Jeannie, no? Oh no, that's the book. When did the Addams Family show come out? Okay, thanks, Siri. Hey Siri, when did the Addams Family television show come out? Oh, it's not going to say it. September 18th, 1964.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, a lot of these things he's referencing, or at least that thing, was like the Addams Family is way more popular. My vibe was like in the 60s, 70s than it is now. Like you kind of have these weird offshoots, but like that was a popular sitcom TV show as well. But like, yeah, all of these things. And then even prior to this, I grew up watching a lot of horror movies. That was like my thing growing up for whatever reason. So a lot of like the campy like 80s, 90s horror films. But prior to the campy 80s, 90s horror stuff, there were a ton of movies made about like the classic monsters, like your Frankensteins, your Count Dracula, your vampire shit. Like these things were, I don't know.
No, it's been throughout all of time. So it's like he's saying there's a resurgence when it's been like, I really wanted them to just pull out some statistic, but it's like vibes-based analysis only. Sorry.
Yeah, always. Everything is always vibes. There's never numbers. There's never anything assigned to
anyone. Shout out to P.F. Young.
True. Good friend of the stream, P.F. Young. Yeah.
I do actually genuinely really like P.F. Young.
We do too. Well, I do. I don't know. My audience goes back and forth, but.
Stranger Things, horror is, in terms of box office, maybe not in terms of creativity, it's as big as it's ever been. Halloween. Really? Oh yeah, Halloween. Some people.
Really? Halloween is getting more popular than Christmas? Like, man, you live in the U.S.
Yeah. But and then also this would be a good thing for numbers, right? And these guys are getting paid lots of money. They're on really popular podcasts, 3.1 million views. I feel like every conversation these people have is a conversation I could expect my parents or my uncle or some random person to have. Like it's never like Halloween type movies are 42% of the domestic box office as opposed to being 20% in the past or whatever, right? They never have any. It's always just like, yeah, like you said, like vibes and shit.
Vibes-based analysis.
Yeah.
Half joke that Halloween will be on pace to overtake Christmas at some point, just because it's become like a year-round thing.
Halloween?
Yeah, Halloween's huge. Yeah, every year it gets bigger. So there's an element of this, Tucker, where once you
I hate to admit.
For a second. Also, another reason why that might even be like, because I haven't looked up the statistics. I don't know if they've looked up the statistics, but the only reason that might even be plausible is because there are other countries that don't actually that aren't Western that celebrate Halloween because it's fun to dress up, And also, like, they like doing that. And also, they have horror, like, in genres already built into their own cultures, like East Asia and shit like that. So it's not even like, oh, Halloween's getting more popular and Christianity is taking it down. Like, no, it's just becoming, like, we're becoming a more globalized society. Whoa.
Well, we were. I don't know about over the last year or two. But
Yeah, you got me there.
yeah.
Admit in public how out of it I am, but I had no idea. This is the first time.
Yeah, no, goth is huge. I mean, even singers like Billie Eilish and stuff, goth is huge.
Because she does she wear black lipstick on like a song or something?
Yeah, I don't even think she's worn black lipstick.
yeah, okay.
I think she just dyed her hair like a little bit like saucy.
Based.
Leads to happiness?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, happiness. Yeah.
We've got a new partner. It's a company called Cowboy Colostrum. It's a brand
Whoa.
that's serious about actual health. And the product is designed to work with your body, not against your body.
Wow.
Code Tucker at cowboycolostrum.com. Remember, you heard it here first.
Where you're like,
I hope
huge
Kanye
thing. So it's one of those
steals
things
all
that
his money.
once you alert someone to how popular something is, it's like learning a new word. Where you're like, I've never heard this word in my life, and the next week all you hear is obstreperous. You're like, wow, you're like that guy's obstreperous. Like, there it is again. So this stuff is huge. But the reason I, as opposed to a lot of other people, was able to really notice it is, again, I was working on this show. I know the history of rock. I know a lot of fair amount about politics. I know some of the tech stuff, a little bit of art history and literature. So when people were
Real quick, one thing that annoys me too for all of these shows is if you're proposing like a hypothesis for something, which is I would say that's as deep as all of these podcasts go, is always like at the hypothesis level. There's never any deeper analysis, right? No. But usually there will be like a really clear, obvious reason for why a thing is the way that it is, but they never actually reject or engage with it. They just talk about their little pet theory on the side or whatever, Yeah. Like my guess is Christmas will always be more popular just because it's a really popular shopping season. So there's a ton of money, advertising, everything behind it. But they like that thing that you said, for instance, about like, well, maybe Halloween is a little bit more not secularized, but it's not specific to Christianity.
Society.
Yeah, so other cultures can celebrate more. Like there would be like a default assumption in some area, but they'll never engage with like, well, some people would say this, but here's why it's not true. They just like hand wave it, or they don't even address it, and then they just talk about like their little niche conspiracy stuff.
But the thing is that I'm pretty sure I say I'm pretty sure because I can't talk to them both. I mean, I probably could DM them or something and get ignored, but like, I find it really hard to believe that either of them are just like, oh, this is so shocking. Goth is getting popular. Did you not look at the statistics that I didn't look at? Like, it's so silly. And he's definitely like, Conrad Flynn just strikes me as someone who's definitely some like super into sci-fi writings, because no one who has read the CCRU writings is like just not like super deep down into like the 4chan sci-fi like lit categories. So it's just like he's deep in there, and it's just funny to me because he's like very much a like Hollywood nepo baby.
Yeah.
Talking when Nick Land or whoever's talking about I learned Kabbalah from Kenneth Grant and Aleister Crowley and stuff. That I'm like, Kenneth Grant, he's the guy that got Bauhaus and a lot of the goth guys into witchcraft and industrial music. What is Nick Land, this academic who is incredibly influential on AI? What is he doing being into this stuff?
Okay,
Pause. Incredibly influential on AI. Nick Land is incredibly influential on AI. Nick Land said, and I think this is his most popular quote on AI, is capitalism equals AI.
Based, okay.
And it's literally just like like, how to dumb this down? Like, essentially, because it's also not even he's not the first person to say it. Like, it was Marcuse, several people have said this, like, properly diagnosed capitalism as something that is what Nick Land would call, like, hyperstitious, which is, like, it essentially, the idea of it, although he takes it into, like, a more H.P. Lovecraft sense, where he's like, the old ones are whispering into my ears and therefore making it reality. But also, it's more of just, like, oh, the thing itself exists and it perpetuates itself by its own existence, but it's called a self-fulfilling prophecy. We already have a word for it. It's not that deep.
Sure.
One of the challenges of this conversation is
and
kind
also
of where to
doesn't know
begin.
how to program.
Based. That's one of the big issues that I have with a lot of the newer tech bro-y people. And it's a bit not fair, I guess. Like, you can be a good business leader without having all of the underlying skills. But I do have some base level of respect for people like Bezos or for people like Zuckerberg, who were involved like on the ground in the early part of their stuff. Whatever their big company is now. But people like, I didn't even know this for the Andreessen guy. Like, I looked him up, I think like an hour ago or whatever. I didn't realize he was just a venture capitalist.
Yeah, no.
I'm like,
a lot
oh,
of
why the
them
fuck
are.
is this guy? Yeah, these people couldn't like make like a Hello World script, or maybe they could. I'm sure they could figure it out, but they don't really have any strong credentials or any strong influence
No.
in anything they do. One of my favorite moments of all time was watching, because Elon, like, he posits himself as literally an expert in literally fucking everything. But it was him when he bought when he bought Twitter, and he was talking about how they needed to refactor the entire Twitter and reprogram everything. Somehow in a Twitter space, an actual software dev like got up and started asking him questions. He was like, when you say that you need to like refactor all of Twitter, can you walk us through like the whole Twitter stack? Like, what kind of a refactor are you talking? Like, actually asked him like particular specific questions. He had no
Technical questions.
Yeah, he had no concept. He had
Technical questions.
nothing. He couldn't respond with a single thing about anything. And it's like so. Yeah, it's so annoying that all these people are, like you said, it's all vibes based. Like they have no background expertise in any of it, so they're giving abstracted takes, but they're not doing the abstractions because they don't know any underlying material.
No, the funny thing is that Nick Land constantly references things like AI or like because so in the CCRU writings there's a thing called Axis, which is axiomatic systems, which is like a character that essentially breaking this down super quickly. It's like it gains sentience and then it like essentially tries to overtake its own timeline. But and like there's the Lemurian Time Wars. It's all sci-fi. It's all just sci-fi in the CCRU writings. It is sci-fi. It is probably his like one of the best works that he's attributed to because he didn't write all of it. He had a lot of co-writers and a lot of them were really good. But yeah, no, it's just like it's sci-fi. He's not like he's not really talking about anything that he has any sort of expertise in the
There's
slightest.
also and there's also this idea of just because you might have been early to a thing, like there might be a lot of people that are guessing around a thing, but to say that you're the founder of or like massively influential when like if you would have deleted your contribution, would it have significantly impacted the field?
No,
Well, I
it
guess
would
it's for
have
that guy.
changed
It
the
would have changed.
aesthetic.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, if that even.
It would have been less cyber gothic and like terminal based. It would have been more like I don't know, Apple.
Sure. Yeah. It reminds me of an analog in the podcast or pharmaceutical world is there's this guy called, or doctor world, there's this guy called Dr. Robert Malone. You ever heard of this guy before? He's like he's Joe Rogan's, he used to be his #1 anti-vax guy or whatever. And he used to say that he was like the founder of mRNA technology because he published some paper in like the early 90s about like one aspect of this thing, but like delete him and nothing changes. He wasn't like, yeah. But these people will take credits for these entire fields of knowledge or information sometimes, despite their contribution being either insignificantly small or non-existent, you know?
No, I mean the funny thing is that he just says it like, oh, he's so influential on AI. No, he's not.
Yeah. And usually for
Clearly
these
not.
people, especially because so much of this stuff manifests itself in like market things later on. It's like, oh, like they'll be like, oh, I knew this was happening, blah, 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 blah. Oh, cool. Are you like a trillionaire? Like where are your billions of dollars or at least hundreds of millions of dollars? If you knew all this was coming, you should have been like investing in these companies early on or making calls about something early on where you could have been super, super rich. But instead you're just this random dude talking on a podcast. Sounds like you were about as informed as the average fucking citizen, you know?
Basically. I mean,
He doing
oh. Yeah, no, keep going.
this academic who is incredibly influential on AI. What is he doing being into this stuff?
Okay, so one of the challenges of this conversation is kind of where to begin and what's the narrative spine and how
Trust
do
me
you
very well,
explain
that's
something that's this pervasive, complex, and basically so rarely explained. So maybe
pause for
we
a second?
start.
Do you think that the only reason that Conrad Flynn got onto this podcast, aside from being a Nepo baby, is because they've been extensively texting? Wink, wink. Because
Like-
now that you put that in my head, I can't stop seeing it.
Well, I think my broader, I view these guys from like a political theory. I don't like to say theory. I'm not allowed to say that. But from a political perspective, I would say, and that I think a lot of people are just very motivated to undermine every single part of like the Western order. And I think Tucker Carlson, after he exited Fox News, became part of that group of people. So anything they can do to kind of like try to pull or slide Jenga blocks out from underneath the liberalism tower, they'll engage in. So if he's got some guy who he thinks will talk to him about like the elite's pedophile sex cult, or how the petrodollar is America's way of subverting the whole world, or how the military industrial complex is trying to destroy every citizen, or how pharmaceuticals are trying to destroy everybody, or GMOs are trying to destroy everybody, or there's some weird occult thing, he'll have those types of people. And same thing with Candace. I think there's a whole group of people that do this. It's like Russian propaganda personified in Western media figures that are getting paid a fuck ton of money, unfortunately, by the West and Western consumers to undermine their own society. That's how I view it. Yeah.
I mean, I completely agree with that sentiment because also, I mean, you'll see him lead into it later, but essentially, like, he just goes into the entire thing as like AI satanic panic.
Sure.
And
Yeah,
it-
basically, yeah.
And it's just like, oh, that's when I was watching it the first time on stream and I was like, oh wow, he's literally just like he's within the right, just causing more right infighting, and it's very funny to me because I was just like, yeah, go off, dude, keep going.
True, yeah.
With just a very straightforward explanation of who Nick Land is. You've referred to him twice.
Yes, yeah. So let me see. Nick Land is kind of essentially the Timothy Leary of the 90s and 2000s. He's the Velvet Underground or Brian Eno of philosophers. No hits, incredibly influential.
Okay.
So, the thing is with Land...
He's a philosopher.
He's a philosopher.
He's literally popular on 4chan.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Worked in the philosophy department of Warwick University over in England, in the UK, in the early 90s. One of the ways I actually really got into this stuff is a friend of mine, Simon Reynolds, brilliant cultural critic, brilliant rock critic, originally from the UK.
There's also like these words that you can say. This type of slop, actually, if a vibe slop drives me so fucking crazy that like if people are really influential in fields, usually there's a thing that you can say about them that points to that influence. Yeah. So like in medical fields, it might be this guy like published the landmark paper on this theory for like the amyloid plaque thing for Alzheimer's disease, or this person published some paper. Like Einstein was famous because of the relativity and all of the stuff that spun from that, or or Oppenheimer. These people, like you can point to projects they've worked on, papers they've published, ideas that they novelized. I hate philosophy because I shouldn't say I hate philosophy. I remember a quote one time.
You hate philosophy?
Philosophy is the most annoying.
Destiny hates philosophy.
I do. Okay, but philosophy is the most annoying of all the fields because
philosophy is the branches of everything.
True, depending on how you view it. But despite the fact that nobody actually formally studies philosophy, you're always practicing it, regardless of whether or not you realize it. So yeah, this type of thing of like when we say influential philosopher, like I don't know fuck all about philosophy, okay, but like my understanding, if we're talking like moral theory or ethics or whatever, at some point you're gonna have to talk about like Kant, like you have to, or categorical imperative or stuff like this, right? Or you're probably gonna hit in any philosophy class, I imagine, like your basics, like your Plato and your Aristotle's, and if you're talking about like ontology, you're probably gonna go over like Platonic, as like stepping stones, but like you're gonna have like this like ladder of people that have been influential leaders in some field that have published stuff. Yeah. But for these people, it's always like this massively influential person. It's like, to who? Like to what? Like what do they have to show for?
To 4chan in 2012.
Yeah.
I brought him onto the show to do the music show, and he interviewed Nick Land. And Simon...
Do you want me to get you a mic stand?
No.
I can get you one.
Nah, I'm getting an arm workout. Should I? Descartes is based.
Okay, if I leave you with these guys for like 4 minutes, can I?
Yeah, I can nap with chat.
Okay.
Chat. Be as mean as possible to every person in Silicon Valley. And I want to see, or also name your favorite philosophers if you guys are philosophy pilled, because if not, I don't want to hear it. Which chat though? You're right. There's a lot of chats going on now that I'm seeing it. Oh man. Okay, wow, there's a lot of chats. What are you guys doing? Krishnamurti? Okay, actually, good take. Chat be weird, come on. You can be weird if you guys want. Descartes is cringe AF? Dude, tabula rasa is literally like the fundamentals of how we understand things to this day. What? She reads Kick, I guess. Oh yeah, that is Kick, isn't it? Sorry, everything's looking like total slop to me right now. There's a lot going on. Silicone sloppers. Kierkegaard, good take. Bertrand Russell. Let's say Obama. Yeah, go on that one. Actually, explain Obama as your favorite philosopher. YouTube chat is fast. Soren Kierkegaard, yeah. Camus, honestly, I've been rereading lately, and genuinely, he's such a fantastic writer. And even when it's translated into English, it's still fantastic, as opposed to like Baudrillard and shit like that. Deleuze and Guattari, oh my god, I'm still in the Quarantine Collective, but Deleuze and Guattari are like such shitheads to read sometimes, and like they hit at truths that you're like, yes, but like why would you say it like that? Like you don't need like schizoanalysis. That is such a like, okay, get it. You're upset with Freud that he coined all these terms that you don't agree with, but like stop. Tropical read only DGG chat. Okay. Bataille eroticism basis. That's why I put economic theory in quotes in the video. Yeah. Whoa, chat. G6 Docstrip. Shout out QC, Destiny, Econobama. Freud books. Oh, actually, I've been rereading Freud on stream, but I stopped recently so I could work on my next video, which is, of course, Lacan, because, of course, I have to do things that are terrible and make me want to cry whenever I read them. Although Lacan is actually really good to read in French, because he's actually funny in his seminars. Like, you wouldn't know unless you knew French as like a native speaker, but when you're reading it, you're like, oh, he's making like constant puns, and he's like genuinely just engaging to read with. But when you read the English version, which I have in my bag, wherever it is, oh, my bag is over there. Anyway, I have Seminar 5 with me, and like it's so, the translation's so dry, it makes no sense. The graphs are like, they have no substance to them, because it's just like you miss all of the context and nuance that he has. And I'm sure in a room he probably spoke with a lot of gravitas, but you know, it's just like the English translations are shit. The English translations are shit. Unlike not Bataille, Baudrillard, who even in French he's still like fucking eating cardboard. But yeah. Oh, you don't read seminars? Yeah, no, you have to read the seminars. He's dead. Tropicalstuck asked Destiny about his Andrew Wilson debates and the meaning of words. Okay. Jung is more fun than Freud. Oh yeah, absolutely. Jung, honestly, I've been neglecting Jung, because the thing is that I'm really, really interested in it. It's just like when it gets to like the really like hermetic, esoteric, alchemical symbols, I'm like, oh, lion eating the green sun. Green lion eating the sun. Like, I understand the fundamental premise of it, but it's like, wow, we've abstracted super hard. But like his things with like archetypes and all of that, like, bro was cooking, and I like it to the point that it makes me uncomfortable. Like, I wanted to dunk on him so hard for so long, but I kept reading and I was like, oh no, like he's actually cooking. That makes me feel weird. So yeah, I took the L on that one. Diogenes the Cynic, one of my favorites, except for the fact that he masturbates in public. That's weird. Don't do that. But living in a barrel, seeing a child at a water stream and being like, oh, my bowl, I have too much, I must live like a dog, throws out bowl. Or like the thing that the stupid tale that goes on throughout time, where it's like Alexander the Great is visiting and he sees Diogenes in his little like barrel, and he's like, wow, if I were not Alexander the Great, I'd wish to be Diogenes. And Diogenes retorts, well, if I were not Diogenes, I would also wish to be Diogenes. And I'm like, base, dude. Love it. But yeah. Thank you.
We'll try to do this. Here, screw this on the bottom.
Gotcha.
Did Chet behave?
Yes, they were actually very nice.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you guys weren't weird at all. I was expecting weird. You guys were, you let me down.
Don't say that. Don't challenge them. Okay. Screwed in? Wait, can you figure it out?
Yes, I can read very long, dry academic philosophy text, but also I can't put this onto a table, apparently.
You can figure it out. I believe in you.
No, yes. Yippee!
Okay. Try just this. Pull it down. Yep. No, pull this thing. Okay. Is that okay? Or I can put a second. Do the second one. Never mind. Hold on. Pull that up. Okay. Put that in. Yep. Close. Based. Yep.
Yes.
Okay. And then hold. Now you have more.
Oh, yippee.
Don't spell that. That was me. Sorry. Okay. There you go. Hopefully. Maybe. Yeah. Tighten
Yes,
the view.
yes.
Okay.
Hello, chat.
Cool. Got it? Good?
Yes, thank you for...
You're welcome. For everything. Okay.
I brought him onto the show to do the music show, and he interviewed Nick Land. And Simon, is the most stiff upper lip, very intellectual English guy you could know. And so the fact that he was interviewing Nick Land, who the people said he was crazy.
The fact that he was interviewing Nick Land, people that were also interviewing Nick Land were Theory Underground on YouTube and The Dangerous Maybe, both of which are, YouTube podcasts and not with like huge followings, even though personally I do quite like their content occasionally. I think they have good takes and also friends of the studio, but like, not huge people. Like, it's not stiff upper lip intellectuals constantly interacting with this man. It's like, it's just YouTube channels that get like maybe 11K views.
Yeah.
You know?
Have you, do you know who this predictive history guy is?
Why does that sound familiar?
Oh man, we're not going to go into all of this, but if you ever get bored, he's...
Oh, yes. Oh my. Yeah, no, I was watching a stream with Quarantine Collective actually, and we were dogging on this guy because he's so funny.
This guy is legitimately like, I don't know if he's crazy, but he's like, yeah, he's not anything.
He's definitely a shill because when you look into, he's talking to a room and saying
like 4 people.
No, there's no one in there. If you look in the reflections, the seats are empty.
I think sometimes there are like a few kids in here because they'll ask questions. I'm almost positive. I feel like you see him on camera sometimes. Sometimes he might be faking it, but I'm almost positive.
He's like, we're starting out semester 2 or semester 1 and going on like this entire rant, and you look in the background, you can see very clearly that all the chairs are empty.
I think sometimes there are people in there. There might be empty sometimes, but regardless, this guy is insane. Like everything he believes is like super crackpotty. But this guy's been making the rounds on like, I don't know what you would call like the mainstream alternative media. So people like Breaking Points.
Yeah, I saw him. That's where we were critiquing him because he ended the podcast. He ended the episode with essentially saying, "Oh yes, the world is going to end with the 3 horsemen of the apocalypse: the Jews, the Jesuits, and the secret third thing that I'm forgetting."
And then they didn't really engage with it, and they just said thank you, and then he just left.
Yeah.
I don't like how.
Freemasons. Yes, it was the Freemasons. Thank you.
Nice. Yeah, just no, it feels like nobody in the alternative media like vets any of these people. So even if they do show up on podcasts, like it doesn't really mean anything because, and then also they have names like Professor whatever else, and it's like, what do you mean by Professor? Professor?
It
he's
literally
not,
says
right?
he's teaching high school students.
Yeah, and he's not. I don't think this guy. I don't believe he's PhD'd or whatever in anything.
I don't think so either.
Definitely not in the broad scheme of things that he talks about.
What Beijing high school are you teaching about Epstein's world?
Yeah, and everything else is. Oh my God, there are so many crazy. Yeah, if you ever get bored, you can go through this guy's channel. We went through it like several months ago, but if you go through his channel, there's just so many hilariously, like he doesn't think the Holocaust like really happened. He went through a whole battle strategy that we would have with, I think, Iran, I think like a year ago, and about how the U.S. could never win because Iran has too many mountains. It's that funny.
That's
it's
what they
crazy.
paid the Kurds for anyway.
True, I guess, yeah, to march those mountains, but okay.
We're
Crazy
both gonna
into
take
the
that train.
True.
Actual English guy you could know. And so the fact that he was interviewing Nick Land, who the people said, he's crazy, he's into the occult, he's into all these wild things, I was like, well, if Simon interviewed him, this will be a down-to-earth understanding of who Nick Land is, because Simon's very down-to-earth. So when I read Simon's interview with him, which is from 1998, and it's also where Simon meets the philosopher Mark Fisher, which I gotta relish, Tuck. This is probably the first and last time someone will
brings up leftist on Tucker Carlson's podcast and has to relish in it. I think that's really funny. I really don't believe that he is truly a conservative in the slightest. I think he's literally just a sci-fi fanboy.
This guy?
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Because no one's a fan of Mark Fisher, who is not like a left accelerationist, who actually does want generally like egalitarianism.
Yeah, but I think that a lot of these guys, I'm just looking at this from a political mode now, ever since the first Trump term in 2016, 2017, I feel like the big split has been between people who believe like in institutions and like kind of anti-institutional people. So a lot of these people will be more warm towards like leftist thinkers, as long as those leftist thinkers in some way undermine the current like world structure or whatever else. So like in the first Trump term, you had people like Jordan Peterson who were really scared about like the postmodern neo-Marxists or or whatever else. But now you'll get a lot of people who will say things like, oh, like this leftist guy was correct because he's saying all of the Western capitalism was evil. And he was correct that all of these capital people are working together with their secret societies and blah, 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 because they've gone more down that anti-institutional part than any like left-right paradigm, I think.
I mean, honestly, I think my main gripe with the like the current bipartisan system between like the Democrats and the Republicans is that neither is actually supporting the working class. Like neither of them actually represent them. So of course there's going to be like this huge split amongst the two.
Sure. I would say the Democrats do a much better job policy-wise, though, of helping working class people versus the Trumples that...
The thing is that I do agree that they do more, but I think that fundamentally not only are they not doing that much, but I remember I was looking at the DNC?
DNC, the Democratic National Committee Convention, whatever.
And I was watching it and I was like, why is this woman dressed in diamonds? Like
people like their... I think a difficult thing about marketing yourself to like working class in the United States is people they'll say this thing over and over again, like kitchen table issues or mailbox issues or whatever else that helps the working class. But working class people, it feels to me like are disproportionately bought into cultural phenomenon, like culture war stuff. So like if I were to come out and I were to either have conversations about like increasing wages versus like we need to get trans girls out of schools, like for a lot of working class, at least conservative people, the trans girls in schools hits harder than any type of like wage shit. That's the feeling that I get when it comes to marketing to a lot of these people. But I think a lot of the issue too, though, is that
I'm never saying that both sides are fuck you. No, I'm not. I'm a heavy leftist and unabashed about it.
One of the things that I get a little irritated about is I feel like when it comes to when it comes to fuck, my audience hates me when I give these takes, but like I think that the American consumer, the American life in general is actually pretty good. Yeah. Even like historically speaking, it's pretty good. Like probably better than most other places on the planet.
Well, yeah, we are the global hegemon.
True. Yeah. But we still are for a little bit. We're holding on. But when you tell people over and over again, your life is fucked, everything is horrible, everything is terrible, and then you come into office and then you do nothing, but then you start telling people your life is getting amazing now, like they'll feel it, but it's because they never really struggled that much before. So when Trump comes into office and he tells them that he's fixed everything, people believe it, but it's because the life was never as bad as Trump told them that it was when Biden was in office. And that's like another frustrating thing sometimes to deal with Americans on as well. And now you're finally seeing, because there are very few concrete things, despite everybody complaining about inflation, there are very few concrete things where you see a price go up and tick, 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 and you track it, like so voraciously as you do the cost of gas. And now the gas is going up. Now Americans like en masse are like, hold on, wait, this Iran shit sucks. Because it's the first time that there's like an easily quantifiable thing that they're looking at where they're like, wait, this is fucked. Because everything else that people complain about, not to take away from people's struggles or anything else, but like when you complain about like the cost of housing, it's pretty rare that you're looking at like the exact same house, you're in a position to buy it for your whole life, and you can kind of compare it because you're in different stages of your life looking at different homes, and it's like people will complain because houses are expensive. They are, they always have been, and they're getting more expensive. But like it's hard to quantify that exactly. So then when Trump comes in and he says everything's better, like some people just believe it because they didn't really have a anchor point of
a concept of
basically
Bring up Mark.
Still the fact that he's like, I have to bring up the fact this is going to be the only time that anyone's going to bring up Mark Fisher on your podcast. No one's as much of an intellectual icon as I am.
Philosopher Mark Fisher, which I gotta relish, Tuck. This is probably the first and last time someone will bring up Mark Fisher on your podcast.
To be fair, Mark Fisher is fucking awesome.
I've enjoyed that. But Simon, he interviews Nick Land, and in his article, it's very lengthy. He talks about how Nick Land is possessed by 3 or 4 entities at the same time. That's the legend. We don't know. Take what you will about any of this, but that 3 or 4 entities at the same time. He's bringing up current
spiritual entities.
Yeah, demons. He's really into demons. He brings up the 93rd Current, which is the name of a band, Current 93, which is Aleister Crowley's Thelema. And they're drawing pentagrams. They're renting out Aleister Crowley's house. And so that was a huge moment for me where I was like, wait a second. This guy that's very big in tech, very big on the future of AI, my buddy is interviewing him, and he's heavily into all these heavy industrial goth things that I know about from this research here. What's he doing in AI? So
what are Nick Land's ideas?
Well, that was, I went on a
Is he still a philosophy professor?
Yeah, you can catch him on X and Twitter,
No, he's not a philosophy professor. He got kicked out of academia literally like the moment that he got, like, I want to say there was like a 5-year gap after he was doing, like, he was helping with PhD supervising for like other students at the time that were getting their PhDs, and then he got fucking kicked.
Rip.
So no, he's not in academia. He actually goes on a podcast on The Dangerous Maybe with Mike Downs, and he says, "Oh, I actually," because he's explaining the numogram. He's like, "I do kind of miss academia. I wish I hadn't kicked it to the curb so hard." But yeah, no, he's not a fucking professor in philosophy. What are you on about, Conrad?
Something that is funny here is Tucker actually stumbled onto like an actual good question. I'm curious if he'll engage with it with any level of like granularity. So what are Nick Land's ideas? That's actually that's a good question. Oh, so he's a big philosopher. He had things about AI. What are like some novel, like big ideas that Nick Land had that other people built on or whatever else? I'm curious if he answers this with any degree of like specificity or if he just vibe rambles about random things.
To be fair, he's going to explain about as much as Nick Land explains about it.
Okay.
Well, that was, I went on a
Is he still a philosophy professor?
Yeah, you can catch him on X and Twitter, tweeting out one tweet at a time. I think he's Xenocosmography, I think is the tweet, is his handle, and he used to be Outsideness. But he can be pretty brilliant and smart and have some good takes. But
lately now it's actually just entirely him like being like, oh, of course, like we're losing the Protestant majority in the UK. We let so many Catholics in. Like, buddy, you have the Dark Enlightenment written on the premise of like equating Hitlerism to like, is it as bad as Satanism? Like, I don't know. Like, it's just, he's like, this is so fucking backwards. Cause he's really, I feel like he's on his esoteric grift right now, which maybe it's making him money, who knows? But,
wait, him or Nick Land?
Nick Land.
Nick Land, okay.
Cause you go on his Twitter and it's like at least last I checked when I was doing all the research for the video, it was like all of this stuff like pro-Protestantism, like very much New Reform Party, like stupid bullshit takes that he never had prior, and you can look at his works and it's in like even the old Xenocosmographs, which was his like old blog posting site that I'm pretty sure I'm forgetting the exact name because I just read through it and I was like, whoa. But yeah, no, he once again, like he's like our atheist like back in the 90s. So him going on this like Protestant stint is hilarious to me.
He was
What are the themes of his work?
So he eventually, he says his work was
okay.
entirely...
Wait, hold on. He didn't really answer. He said he gave the name of the Twitter handle, but when Tucker asked him like, "What are some ideas this guy has?" he didn't really give anything. He just named like the handle, and he said he's like brilliant. Okay, we're waiting for it.
Was
What are the themes of his work?
So he eventually, he says his work was entirely channeled. Channeled as an automatic writing. So this goes back centuries, but 100 years ago, you had poets like W.B. Yeats. You noticed me struggling to make sure I pronounce that correctly. He had his wife do a channeling to write his book. A channeling means essentially you're possessed to write this. That this didn't come naturally from you. That maybe
some outside force takes over your
demons,
hand, your
angels,
tongue.
yes. And so
he does actually go into this, but it's the same way that if you look on Orphan Drift's archival website, which is the sister organization that did more of the art side for the CCRU. So essentially they're like the same thing that they call avatars is what they call demons, is what they call like these, and like it's essentially what the Romans would refer to as the muses. Like these are just like entities that give you sort of like divine, or I guess like demonic sort of inspiration for your works. And that's what he's saying he's being possessed by. But it's just like...
But when he says it, he means it in like a metaphorical sense? Or does he mean like in an actual demonic possession sense?
He's trying to say... Because it's... When I explain hyperfiction in the video, it's like you're taking your work seriously as though it is the reality of like what's going on. Okay. So you're not really... You're talking as though these things are actually happening in real life, even though... Really, you're just playing more. You're not method acting. You're being a performance artist.
Gotcha. But you're being a performance artist.
Yeah, he won't ever explicitly state it, but...
Okay. Like J-Rec. No, I'm just kidding.
Who?
J-Rec.
His work on AI, which is incredibly influential, he said was an outside force to write this. And
Nick Land is a proponent of AI?
Oh, yeah. No, he's a proponent of AI, but his philosophy is essentially that we are building this AI that's going to become not only just super intelligent, but it eventually becomes so advanced that it gains omniscience, it gains omnipotence, and it becomes this superhuman godlike thing that transcends humanity eventually.
Okay.
This is literally from the CCRU writings, 1997 to 2003. It's called Axis, AXSYS, because it's axiomatic systems. this is sci-fi. This is sci-fi from the 90s. Like, he just wrote about sci-fi. This is not actually anything that's like a general theory of his. And there's multiple writers writing about this, not just Nick Land. So it's just so hilarious that they're like taking this sort of like, ooh, and he predicted all of these things, and it's like, oh man, come on.
Based.
Essentially destroys humanity, and he gets really into the Book of Revelation, ends up becoming the demons from the Book of Revelation. The real thing with Nick Land,
what becomes the demons of Revelation?
AI does. That we are building the demons from the Book of Revelation with AI, and
that's Nick Land's position.
But I should say too, it's the position of a lot of these guys. Elon Musk has said that with AI we are summoning the demons.
Yes, he has said that. He said that 10 years ago in an interview, and he's said similar things every year since.
Grimes.
But Elon is or was trying to sound the alarm on that. Nick Land is for this?
I mean, with a lot of these guys, Tucker, it ends up being, a lot of them are, I mean, they would maybe blanket Satanist. Although Nick Land has said, Christians who believe that what he's doing is talking to Satan when he does these divination things. He says they're not totally wrong. He's not unsympathetic to it. He says he is hearing from the outside, and that these are, he's not totally unsympathetic for it.
He's talking about
with a lot of these guys,
he's talking about hermetic traditions and like things of that nature. Because he also, once again, as you were saying before, he actually is very good about putting things in perspective of the time period in which it was created. So Hermeticism as it relates to like the numbers that are used in Kabbalistic tradition, and also like because they weren't using Arabic numbers at that point. They were using Roman numerals, so it has different meanings because not everything equals to 10. And so he uses that in his little mythos that he takes as though it's reality, hyperfiction. But he.
Wait, what is, for the people in chat that don't know, what is Hermeticism again?
Hermeticism is. I'm not gonna put a proper definition to this in 5 seconds. Hermeticism is more of like there are books that are associated with it. I believe it is originally from it's like during the period in which Christianity had already happened, and so they were kind of memeing on Christianity to make more sources that were like, oh, but it's related to alchemy. And to be fair, I don't really know too well about it, but it's more of like the symbols that are used in what later was used in alchemy, and taking that and sort of like that hermetic knowledge to make these sort of different meanings. I'm butchering that. Sorry, chat. Okay. I'm not sorry, actually.
This guy says Hermeticism is an ancient, esoteric, philosophical, and religious tradition based on teachings attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, a syncretic combination of the Greek god Hermes and Egyptian god Thoth.
Same god, they were synchronized.
Okay.
So, they're both like trickster. Well, no, Thoth was not trickster, but they're both known for intellect and communication. Thoth, not so much, but yeah.
Okay.
These are, he's not totally unsympathetic for it. But with a lot of these guys, what was interesting about Nick Land is that they keep getting the same ideas. These guys take drugs, whether it's Elon, Nick Land, or even in the 70s, the scientist John C. Lilly. John C. Lilly was an eminent scientist, brilliant dude. He started doing ketamine, the same drug. Everyone does in Silicon Valley. And when they do this drug, even if you're an atheist materialist, this is still interesting, they all get the same idea, which is that the machines are, coming, it's like Skynet and Terminator. They're coming together, they're evolving to eventually take over, and that we are hanging ourselves with the rope we're currently building by building this. But this goes back, Nick Land was interesting, but he became less interesting to me when I realized that other scientists in the 70s, John C. Lilly, the movie Altered States from 1980, his horror movie, this is about, he would have these visions about the machines, he called them the solid state entities. He would have this in the 70s, Tucker, in this tank. The isolation tank he'd go in. And you probably haven't seen it, but the new Mission Impossible movie, Tom Cruise, he fights this AI and he goes in the isolation tank and he has these visions of it. One of the biggest movies of this past summer. And that plot point comes from John C. Lilly and the visions he would get of AI apocalypse in the isolation tank back in the 70s. So I bring this up to say Nick Land is the most foremost proponent of it that has a public name, even though he's not that famous right now. But this goes back a long time, at least back to the 70s.
So are these... So people take ketamine and they all have the same vision.
Or
species of
this is where my favorite theory of theirs comes in. It's so fucking fun. It's so Hermeticism is basically Platonism, physical metaphysics, turned into religion. Yes. It leads into Kabbalist tradition. It's not exactly the same thing though. But yeah.
Same vision.
Enough of them do to make it very strange and alarming. That's the thing, that one of the main influences on both the show I was building, these guys, Brian Geisen, William S. Burroughs, his creative partner, he would say the thing is about getting high and about doing psychedelics is that, you can spot people, eventually who are on the same drug and you're both getting the same ideas. Some drugs, he said, increases telepathy, it puts them on the same wavelength. So with a lot of these guys,
it's a little weird that different people from different places, different countries, different life experiences would take a drug and have the same kind of vision.
It's totally weird. And for anyone who's tuned in,
that can't be organic.
No. But that is weird beyond what anyone's individual personal beliefs are. So
exactly.
So if anyone...
I've complained about this before. I call these just like the truisms. Like you just say things and it's like, oh, sure. But the idea that like different people would take the same drug and have similar feelings, that can't be organic. And it's like, why not? Like, we're all humans. We all take the same exact substance, and then we have similar. Like, why would you just assume immediately that like that can't possibly be a coincidence? Like, well, it's not a coincidence. It's the same biological, like, substrate dealing with the same chemical substrate, and then having a similar reaction. Like, would that not be the expected thing? Wouldn't that be exactly what you would expect from people who are taking drugs all over the world to have similar experiences? But
I would say even at the same time, like, I find it a little difficult to attribute like, oh, we're all seeing, because essentially he's going to boil it down into, oh, we're all seeing the same demons.
Sure.
And it's like, man, what?
Yeah.
No. But that is weird beyond what anyone's individual personal beliefs are. So
exactly.
So if anyone tunes in and like, where did Tucker find this guy that looks like Greg Olson talking about insane AI stuff? If they're an atheist, they don't believe any of this. Like you're saying, the fact that people are taking these drugs and they're very powerful and they work in tech and they are getting the same ideas, the same fears. They think in some cases they're talking to the same entities. There are books now about, if you take DMT, if you encounter this machine elf, be wary of this. They're encountering the same stuff. That's an interesting phenomenon, just biologically, regardless of what people...
Like ancient sacred art has the same images,
right,
created on different continents at different periods. They couldn't have had contact with each other, so why are they drawing the same Birdman or the same purse? Because they're seeing the same visions, which suggests that those visions are real.
What does it mean when we say real? Like, this is like a thing where we also treat the brain as like a very special organ that is completely and totally fundamentally different from every other part of the body. But like, if I were to say, like, I don't know if this is true, but I'm sure that this is true, that different societies across the planet developed eating utensils. Like, if I were to say that and pretend that's like a profound thought, they would say, well, of course, they have to eat, right? They have to deliver food to their mouth, so of course. But any other similar thing, like we have similar visions for art or anything else, again, it's like the drug thing. Like, wouldn't we expect it to be pretty similar from human to human? Like, why would we expect every single human mind to have this random generator of completely arbitrary thoughts and would just spit these out at any point in time? Like, we would expect there to be a lot of similarity between different people, even in different societies and across different...
Wittgenstein mentioned.
What?
Sorry, I saw chats. Wittgenstein mentioned.
Oh.
Hell yeah. But yeah, no, I think like the thing is that I almost agree with you there. But what I want to attribute it more is to the fact that we just constantly invent the same things throughout history in different time periods, in different places.
Sure.
Like the wheel was not necessarily as efficient in South America as it was in like Europe, but also like, it was still like, they still had it was like a steam-powered engine or something in South America that they found.
Okay.
I believe so. I might be butchering that. But like, it was just like, we reinvent the same things as just technology progresses because we need it for certain specific tasks. It was a child's toy, but, same thing.
Why is snake worship universal around the world? Exactly. Serpent worship.
Here's something you may not have known. Back in 2000,
Snake worship? You mean like the things that they found that looked kind of like dinosaur bones?
Farms.com. It's worth it. Exactly. Because there's something that people are responding to that's not coming from within them, but outside of them.
That was Carl Jung's like main insight is that getting to the idea of can ideas come from without you and not just within you. So yeah.
Well, yeah, and the materialist doesn't want to admit that, and our culture has, since we dropped the atom bomb, has sort of written off the possibility that could be true, but it's...
Wait, that what could be true? Sorry, hold on.
Since we dropped the atom bomb, has sort of written off the possibility that...
Wait, have you heard of this one box, two box thing? Nope, good. It's a stupid thought problem about don't worry about it.
Getting the idea of can ideas come from without you and not just within you. So yeah.
Well, yeah, and the materialist doesn't want to admit that, and our culture has, since we dropped the atom bomb, has sort of written off the possibility that could be true, but it's just reconnecting with something that every civilization has always assumed was true, which is there's a spiritual realm that's every bit as real as your iPhone or this desk, and it's absolutely real, and it acts on us all the time. And, and that is the truth.
Yeah.
And
that is something that irritates me that they never actually question. He just says it as though it's like fact. Like, oh, we all know this.
Yeah. They also never consider that, like, you could, like, I mean, for all the things I've been saying, this could totally be subsumed within a materialist worldview, that, like, human biologies will produce the same experiences and phenomenon from society to society, and you don't need an external thing to explain that at all. That could literally all be explained by the fact that we're, all similar creatures. But that it's just like given as true, like, oh, like materialists can't answer this simple question. Why is it that everybody has like a doppelganger myth, or why does everybody? And it's like, well, probably because we all have the same like fears. Notice how these, like, throughout all of human civilization, everybody's afraid of heights. Like, why is that? It's like, well, because if you fall off shit, you probably die. Like,
yeah, no, really.
I know, you seem to take that for granted, but it's still shocking to those of us who grew up in, basically a godless country.
Totally. I mean, one of the basis for my interest in a lot of this is, my mom was raised in a Christian home. I consider, I'm a Christian myself. And my mom would always say, she became a Christian in the 70s, but she knew all the psychedelic groups back in the 60s, Love, Spirit. She and my aunt would go to Doors shows and all those groups from the late 1960s. And something that she'd say, and that people who are rock and rollers into the occult would say, that they both say the same thing, which is that people take drugs, musicians do.
Wait, we're at 2402. Which part?
I want to go to I forgot exactly where it happens. Maybe just like skip ahead with the button.
Here. This is the go forward button.
Inspiration for creativity. The tap was like, that's something every musician knows too. That's why people take drugs for all kinds of
reasons. I'll admit, all of that stuff came to that those people took drugs. I mean, I took drugs.
People take drugs for all kinds of reasons.
I'll admit it, but I didn't know that. I thought that
what kind of drugs?
was like, that's something my mom says. My mom's a
Psychedelic.
great Christian, one of the all-time greats. And this is something that, every musician knows too. That's why they take drugs, is to tap into the spiritual.
So I didn't know that. I thought that people took drugs. I mean, I took drugs.
People take drugs for all kinds of reasons.
I'll admit it, but I always assumed that those insights are really mostly fake insights, but all of that stuff came from within, that it was, I bought the Freudian analysis of it, that you only use 10% of your brain, and there's this whole sort of primordial sea in your head of thoughts and visions that you're not in touch with on a daily basis, but that drugs thin the membrane. But it never occurred to me a single time until middle age, when I started to see reality, that actually they're coming from outside you.
Well, Tucker, that's a great point. That's something that any psychedelic guy, it's kind of a double standard thing I deal, where when talking about drug use, they'll always say, well, there's no difference between what's going on in my head and what's going outside. We're all one. It's always, I think it was William James said, the great oceanic feeling, what do you get?
Yes.
But that's always their big insight is, hey man, what's going on in my head is different from what's going outside, until the psychonaut encounters some sort of weird demon on DMT. And then they backtrack and they're like, brother, that's just in my head. Don't worry. What's in my head can't get in your head. So they go from
until you have two different people meeting the same demon.
Right.
Well, then you realize,
it's
well,
all
wait a
the
second.
mechanical elves opening up their suitcases at you.
True.
I've never actually experienced it. I don't know. I've never
done DMT.
No. Sorry guys, I'm lame.
No, but I'm just saying again, just to hammer the point again and again and again, because it can't be hammered hard enough, that there is a realm that exists outside of us over which we are not in control.
I believe that. Yes.
And that it can enter. You can bring stuff into you.
Right.
That has control over you.
Right. Totally. And, to bring this back into some historical precedent, a good question that, people have asked me are, what are the precedents for this? Because this is really weird to think of people in tech, who are into strange AI stuff. I thought everyone was pretty grounded. But, if you look at, are you familiar with the story of Jack Parsons over at,
Please tell the story if you don't mind.
I'll do a succinct one. Jack Parsons, he grew up in Pasadena. He was brought on by, I think it's Theodore von Karman, this scientist over at, I think it's Caltech, or eventually it was JPL, but he was really into the occult, and he summoned the devil allegedly when he was 13. Really into esoteric stuff. Part of this greater LA avant-garde scene, and he's I think he's been said he's the fourth most important person in the history of jet rocketry and stuff like that. But he was really into the idea of bringing in manifesting a supernatural being. So he would go with L. Ron Hubbard, the future founder of Scientology. And I know that Scientology they say that L. Ron Hubbard was doing intelligence work. He wasn't really into this stuff, but he would go with L. Ron Hubbard into the Pasadena Arroyo Seco, and they do rituals there, and they try to manifest, a kind of supernatural figure. So there's a classic example there, and science is littered with these, of people who are brilliant scientists, but who are into incredibly strange stuff. And the guy.
I noticed that a lot of those scientists are working on technology that kills people.
Yeah, they also do that too. Nice. And the guy that brought him on.
Well, Parsons was doing that. Well, ultimately, the technology was used to kill people.
Which one are you referring to?
Rocketry.
Oh yeah, rocketry was. And
I love
what's funny too is either he or Von Karman, they donated to my friend Rick Spence. He's like the Doc Brown to my Marty McFly. He's this historian I brought on for my show trying to do it, and he's an expert on Parsons and this stuff. And he pointed out to me that Parsons and Von Karman, that they were part of the Pasadena Cell 122 of the Communist Party, which is he said the exact same one that I forget if it was Robert or Frank Oppenheimer in Pasadena were also donating money to. So there's an incidental funny historical connection there between Oppenheimer and Parsons and the Communist Party. But
as if we needed more evidence that nuclear weapons are demonic.
Well,
I know this upsets certain people on the so-called right, but it's evil, and if you can't see it as evil,
nuclear, it is funny though. I was going to say the Parsons, the guy that brought Parsons on, was this guy.
Straight association with, like, an economic theory being directly related to the spiritual, occult, Abrahamic, demonic. Like, yeah, I love thinking about going to Dante's Inferno and, like, imagining the seventh circle of hell being full of just fucking finance bros. Like, it doesn't make. What are you fucking on?
Yeah, a lot of this is like sometimes I call it like constellation drawing, where it's like when you hit a thing that's of sufficient size, you're going to be able to find a connection to, like, everything's going to be literally 1 or 2 degrees removed from anything else. Like, I'm pretty sure at this point in my life, I'm probably 3 degrees removed from Hitler, depending on, like, in terms of people I've met. But like you, and then especially when you get into like actual like wealthy people or people that are working on huge projects or whatever, like you can draw these connections for anything, but they never actually demonstrate.
How are you 3 degrees away from Hitler?
I'm sure if we thought about it, maybe. Have I met somebody? What would that be? I've met somebody who's met Hitler. There must be if we worked hard enough. I'm sure somebody could figure it out.
I mean, he was a pretty prolific figure, but I imagine not many people.
I met Tulsi Gabbard. Who is Tulsi Gabbard met?
Queen Elizabeth, Hitler. Okay.
Oh, I just need somebody who's met Queen Elizabeth? Tulsi, Trump, Queen, Hitler. That would be 4 degrees?
Richard Wolff, really?
Professor Wolff, right? The socialist guy?
Yeah.
Has he met Queen Elizabeth?
Are we, man, we're not really, we haven't.
Lex Friedman? Has he met Queen Elizabeth? Piers Morgan, he must have met the Queen. Piers, Queen, Hitler. There.
Do you think the Queen met Hitler?
I don't know, they said it in chat. Wasn't she like 18 in World War II or some shit?
Yeah, that's why I'm like.
Oh shit, no way. Why the fuck would she have met Hitler?
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm 4 degrees. She must have met somebody who met Hitler.
Theodor von Karman. And von Karman's father told Karman, brilliant scientist, that he was descended from, I was going to butcher the names here, but I think it was Rabbi Low, the 16th century Prague rabbi who brought together the golem. Which I bring up because that's something you notice with AI too, is a lot of the main figures in AI, they all think of themselves as being descended from creating a golem. And the nature of digital life, and this is also very important to Nick Land's thinking, is very similar to Kabbalah, which is you're using, in digital life, ones and zeros, but you're using an algorithm, a set of instructions to bring an inanimate object to life, which is the creation of a golem. You use clay, it's man is God.
Tell us what a golem is.
Never thought. This would be the part Tucker's asking me what a golem is, where the movie would do the record scratch freeze frame. You might be wondering how I got here. Tell us what a golem is, Con. A golem is essentially it's a creature, mythical, but with digital life, where we've already kind of created them. The idea of man creating a creature that's an artificial life form. So back in the 16th century, the idea was you take clay and then you'd create the little parts of a little man, kind of create like a Frankenstein. Frankenstein's a golem.
Yeah.
Essentially.
No.
But you'd have the algorithm, or the ritual. And you'd animate the thing, using, symbols.
Wait, why is Frankenstein not a golem? Because he's made out of human parts?
Yes.
Okay.
And numbers, and it would eventually come to life. And
be your slave.
Well, what's funny is be your slave, but the legend of the golem in Prague, and it's probably assuredly just a legend, is that it broke free. It started killing people and
Okay, hold on. We've got.
They whipped that up fast.
Tulsi Gabbard, Carrie, Queen, something.
Queen Elizabeth.
Then this people, somebody, and Hitler. There we go. Boom.
Huh. Well, you're closer to Stalin.
There must be. Well, no, we can shortcut these two with Piers, right? Somebody up here is Churchill. It's one of this fat fucker. Stalin, Queen. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's no. These guys never met ever. I don't know. Okay.
I mean,
you can do better, guys. Work on it. They'll work on it. The brain trust will get in there. Okay.
Doing all these things. So that's an important point to make. Is when people talk.
Why do we assume that's a legend?
Sorry, did I say Gore? I meant Carrie. My bad. carries the longer fence.
The golem in Prague, and it's probably just assuredly just a legend, is that it broke free and started killing people and doing all these things. So that's an important point to make. Is when people talk.
Why do we assume that's a legend?
You know, you would think that would have gone viral on TikTok and something in the 16th century if they had that. I mean, you know, what's funny though is that you look at stuff like the Terminator movies and these idea of AI apocalypse, which is very, very big right now. I mean, the Washington Journal.
I think 1.25.
We can put it faster. I just want him to get back to Nick Land.
They had this last week. You know, it's the phone and ChatGPT is bringing up all kinds of great occult lore. This is from the Occult Journal, Wall Street Journal, very obscure Kabbalistic newspaper based in New York City. No,
and so the art, in case viewers can't see it, is a serpent emerging from a rose wrapped around the arm of the iPhone holder.
No, that's like the ChatGPT
this idea
symbol.
of weird technology, of things getting out of hand. When people talk about the AI and the AI demons or this or that, it actually just goes back to the golem. I mean, the Terminator movies are essentially about golems. A man creating a creature, the creature breaking free from man and killing him. And in the case of Nick Land,
but the original golem in Prague.
If I may. Favorite tweet that I put out recently was that it goes, I made Rocco's Basilisk just to show the magic of community. And that's what you guys should do too.
I don't understand that comment at all.
It's very, very deep in the stupid lore of like teapot Twitter nonsense.
What is teapot Twitter?
Like post-rationalist, they call it post-rat, like a lot of less wrong stuff. It's just, it's equally brain rot now as it was generally kind of interesting like back in 2010.
Okay. I'll take your word for it.
When you're referring to in the 16th century, was the product of something called Kabbalah.
Yeah, Kabbalah, and this is an essential Nick Land thing.
What is Kabbalah?
Kabbalah is something, after the destruction of the first temple, the Jewish people were famously enslaved and taken captive by the Babylonians. This is where the book of Daniel's written. And what Nick Land does, and a lot of these guys do, is they end up perverting Jewish history. And they, you know, in the Bible it says, you know, salvation is of the Jews, which people forget. And a lot of people that don't like Jews, you know, they forget, you know, the Bible comes from the Jews. It's almost all exclusively written by Jewish men, maybe not the book of Luke. So what Nick Land does, and a lot of these guys, is they say the real purpose of the Jewish people was that they picked up Kabbalah from the Babylonians back in maybe 5th century before Christ, and that they kept it. It eventually becomes, you know, Kabbalah is essentially, it's a form of
Whoa!
We've got to be closer to Epstein than 3 degrees, right? Certainly, I met somebody who's met Epstein. I'm sure Pierre's met Epstein or somebody. No.
About this is it?
Whoops, wrong.
We'll say magic. I mean, Gary Lockman says that what we think of as occultism is all essentially Kabbalah, at least in the West. It's a form of magic. It's a form of, you know, I'm going to butcher this because I'm not a scholar on it. But essentially, what Nick Land believes is that the Jewish people, they kept the Kabbalah, it eventually becomes digital life, you know, through ones and zeros.
But it's a Gnostic religion, which is to say it's hidden from non-initiates.
Yeah, I mean, there's a mainstream version of it, but
Gnostic, that would be esoteric. But whatever.
It eventually kind of becomes what they believe. It's a precursor to digital life. So what Land and a lot of these people believe is that the actual salvation that the Jewish people provided was keeping Kabbalah, which eventually becomes digital life, which eventually becomes AI, which eventually becomes the creatures in the book of Revelation, which essentially later go on to destroy humanity and fulfill the book of Revelation. But that is a good thing. A lot of them believe.
Something amazing is happening in the U.S. after.
I mean, if it didn't already come across in my video, the CCRU is deeply anti-humanitarian, and also anti-human in general. Like, they think that, like, famous Nick Land quote goes, humans should be studied, but just so much as the interest of the experience of sea slugs. Like, it's like, okay, man, I get it, you're edgy, you don't really care about other people, cool. But I guess that was, like, counterculture for the time, but it's very cringe now.
They've transcended humanness based.
Oh, God, you're so cool, man. You're so special.
.com/Tucker. And if it doesn't change your life, I'll be shocked. I mean that. You know, why would that be a good thing?
For a lot of these guys, like Nick Land, you know, he calls himself a theosophist. Theosophy, again, it's a hard thing to untie, but in part because the religion itself was kind of a mishmash. It was a 19th century philosophy, formerly put in place by Madame Blavatsky, I think in 1875.
A Russian emigrant to London.
Yes, and she came from a long background of, like, you know, Freemasons and German, you know, she came from a very occult. Her first cousin was the president of Russia, Sergei Fitz. I'm probably butchering a lot of names here, but so
Madame Blavatsky was a very famous person in 19th century.
Yeah, she was essentially the mother of the New Age movement. So what she believed, it's Western esotericism mixed with Eastern religion. It's essentially proto-hippie, proto-California counterculture stuff. A great book on this, one of my favorite books, is a book by Martin Green called Mountain of Truth about Ascona, Switzerland. It's about the birth of the modern counterculture, the California counterculture. You know, whether it was Trotsky and Lenin or Carl Jung, all these people pulling out Tucker and the secret docs, Satan, consent. How do you get in there?
Another record scratch there.
You know. Record scratch, how to get her moment, say that loud. Satanism, the snake on a stick, that's also Jesus on the cross. Pretty heretical stuff. So to answer your question, how do you get into Satanism? Again, another, record scratch. How did I get here moment? Say that loud.
Really? You into the occult?
They believe that it's just the Gnostic idea that Adam and Eve were slaves in the garden. That they were stuck there. That the serpent, by when he approaches them, he essentially gives them the red pill speech from the Matrix. Look, you're a slave here. You're not doing anything. You're naming animals and tending to a garden.
Oh my god! And it's an apple. And it's red.
Oh my god! They gave him the red pill.
Holy shit!
I'm gonna break free from this over God that's here. I can give you a choice. Take this fruit, this red pill. I don't know if it's a pill, or you can stay here and be a slave. But just know, if you take this thing, if you take this pill, if you eat this fruit of knowledge, which, as you can see, I should emphasize this: the tree of knowledge very much ties directly into this whole concept of AI, which is we are kind of creating this tree of knowledge.
No,
we'll get to that in a second.
No, it does. Okay, sorry, I'm getting oh god, it's
but
just so fucking cringe. I'm feeling it throughout my entire body, man. Just stop talking. Holy shit.
Says you can eat from the tree of knowledge, and there'll be a price to pay for that, but you're going to be free, and you'll be like a god.
Once you rebel against dad.
Yeah, essentially, yes. You'll be free. You need to transgress. You need to sin, but you're going to be like a god. Eve famously eats the fruit, brings death into the world, and they understand shame. They have this gnosis moment, Adam and Eve, where they realize, oh my goodness, we're naked. Who are we? They have this self-actualization moment. That is the Gnostic interpretation of the Garden of Eden, and that is very much it's an ancient idea. No ideas are really too new. But to answer your question,
that's the oldest idea of all.
It's very old. But
bow down before me and you'll be like God.
Yeah, but to get back to your original question, how do people get into these ideas of? The Theosophists would say in some cases, it seems like they actually believe in Satan, but even on a metaphorical level, they would say the mind, intelligence is Satan. That the human mind is breaking free. This is intelligence.
Okay, one, hilarious that he says the human mind is Satan. Two, because what a fucking quote. But two, also none of that Nick Land never actually references Satan unless it's in regards to equating something to a fundamental evil, a moral evil. So he's really kind of just pulling at all these threads and once again making exactly what Nick Land said, something that was more cinematic than he actually ever envisioned.
Based.
Intelligence breaking out. So I'm going to make a crucial point here. When they talk about AI and they talk about AI apocalypse and they talk about intelligence breaking free and AGI, you're getting into this idea that even Land himself will say is theosophy, but it goes way back of the mind breaking out and rebelling against God, intelligence breaking free. And that's what they believe.
Also, so he doesn't exactly say rebelling against God. He's rebelling against the Atlanteans in his sci-fi work. Because the Atlanteans essentially stand for institution, and the Lemurians are more so because he calls himself a Lemurian punk. They all did in the CCRU, and so it's being against the institution, against tradition, against against authority, etc. But also it has its own decentralization. We want to kind of kill time instead of different levels of sci-fi going on here, but he's saying this with such earnestness, and he's just he's really going on this stint, and he's yes, and he said Satan, and it's no, he never did actually.
Happened in the garden with Gnosticism. Gnosticism means knowledgeism. It's knowledge. This is pure knowledge. That this is that breaking free, and that by creating these runaway AI things, that's what we're also doing. And the fact that it may kill humanity or transcend humanity, or humanity will need to evolve to go with it, that's cool. They see it, Tucker, as essentially being the same situation in the garden. Break free, do it. Yes, you'll bring death. Yes, you'll get us all killed, or some people killed. Whatever, just do it.
This is where he's extrapolating the point of Nick Land actually just saying, oh, we should just kill all poor people, or stupid people and poor people.
Okay.
And he's taking it to some people will die. It's not specifying who, but it's more so the read that Land has on capitalism and hierarchy, that some people will die.
Gotcha.
Cults typically don't buy green bananas as far as thinking ahead.
They don't. And this is a religion for people who don't have children.
No.
Of course. Just do it.
Right.
So what I think you've successfully done is tied a bunch of different threads together and pointed them all the way back to the origin story.
Well, I hope I did. I hope I just didn't do the It's Always Sunny meme of him having the all these index cards.
No,
it's very hard to
No, I think you laid out the thematic basis of Gnosticism, Kabbalah, whatever you're calling it, the occult. It's all a rebellion against God, and it's always predicated on the same transaction, which is bow down before me and I will give you power.
Well, it definitely can be that. And I want to emphasize, they do pervert Jewish history by making the Jewish people, by them preserving the Kabbalah when they're in exile and picking it up. They say that's the real purpose of the Jewish people. And the people that are into the AI forerunners, whether it's Marvin Minsky, who was one of the Epstein, that was one of the guys that the girl who I think killed herself in the last year. She said she met Marvin Minsky and was told to have sex with this dude. He's one of the founding fathers of AI, but he comes from this the background of having fathers. He comes from the background. He was told that he was the descendant of Rabbi Lowe, the Prague guy that created the Golem, as was Jack Good, who wrote one of the main books that is about AI in 1965.
He was a relative of the.
Yeah, but most of them aren't. I think the one I mentioned earlier, Theodore von Karman, actually was. He was the one that was told you actually are descended from him. The other one, it's more like telling
He's
WASP
doing
kid,
like
you're a descendant of George Washington or whatever.
Right, you're Mayflower descendant.
Yeah, but even though they kind of pervert Jewish history like that, anti-Semites also love Kabbalah too. I mean, even it was found in 2008 in Hitler's personal library. He had a book from Ernest Schertl, the Aleister Crowley of Germany, and famously, not many people know this story because it's recent, but Hitler was circling like Kabbalistic things about Satan and this stuff.
No.
So, and this is something that Gary Lockman's pointed out. It's a key part of Jewish history, but also even people that hate Jews also really get into Kabbalah too. So I don't want to generalize too much.
Interesting. So back to Land. So Land is this academic. He's a tenured philosophy professor. He's a philosophy professor
he was
at
not.
a British university.
He was not.
He describes himself or has been.
How could he get fired if he was tenured? No, like, don't you have to fuck up really hardcore?
He wasn't even a professor.
Okay, sure.
He was a supervisor.
And described as
PhD grads.
occupied by demons, possessed by demons.
Oh yeah, my friend Simon, I think I mentioned that earlier.
And he was
When
never
went out there, I
possessed
said,
by
you know,
demons. He was possessed by avatars that they also substituted as demons, but also substituted as muses, the just divine inspiration for art and creation.
The legend around Land is he had been possessed by at least 3 or 4 demons at the same
So
time.
normally, like as a resume point, that would be a deal killer. Like
mean,
if someone comes to you and says, "I want to work for you. I'm possessed by demons," you would say, "No, I don't want any demon possessed employees." But for Land,
Typically, yeah.
that increases his stature with certain people.
Oh, well, totally. I mean, this is something, and this is a huge thing I learned, Tucker, in researching this thing. That I was reading this book because with Land and his group of academics, the CCRU, the Cultural Cybernetic Research Unit, they were very much based off of Genesis P. Temple of Psychic Youth, where the idea comes from Burroughs, which is to use modern tech to its fullest for occult purposes. That the modern magician does not shy away from using the latest tech. That was William Burroughs' thing. There's a great book called The Occult World of William S. Burroughs, and it talks about how he'd use audio recordings, movies, editing to try to edit reality, to try to create a glitch in the matrix or whatever you want to say.
Hyperfiction is essentially from this premise.
To do that. So Land and his guys.
Can I interject and just say you've mentioned Jack Parsons, you've mentioned Bill Burroughs,
all the legends, yeah.
all the legends. But if you look at the life trajectory of all of these people, it ends in poverty, misery, insanity, suicide, addiction, alienation. Like, is there a single person in the world you're now describing for whom it ends well?
No, and that was one of the reasons that was really surprising researching Land is he mentions this guy Kenneth Grant, who's a powerful magician, Aleister Crowley's secretary. And what Kenneth Grant said, very steeped in the occult, English guy, he said about rock and roll, which again was the basis from the show of like rock and the occult. Kenneth Grant said, of course rock and roll is demonic. He goes, look at the way their lives end. He goes, of course this is horrible for you. So when I read that,
yes, when you die at 27 of self-inflicted wounds, as famously so many of them did, that's not like a sign that you're on the right path, right?
It ends horribly for most of them, but the fact that Kenneth Grant had said
the 27 Club is based, duh.
What do you mean by based?
Amy Winehouse, the other people that died at 27.
You don't mean it's good they died at 27.
Yeah.
You're making a joke. Never mind.
Yeah.
I got it. My bad.
This wasn't coming from a pastor. This was coming from Aleister Crowley's secretary.
Right.
I was like, this is the show. I was like, when you got this guy saying that. So Tucker, when I found that Nick Land was influenced by this guy Kenneth Grant, this famous black magician, I was like, wait a second. That's when I knew I had more than a show. I'm like, wait, the goth legends, Bauhaus, Coil, Nurse with Wound. Again, we got to take a break. No one, I don't think, will ever bring up Nurse with Wound again on your show. So that's
I have to let you know that I'm just an intellectual and no one else would bring this up on your show. Sorry, you only bring peons to talk about stupid, archaic things.
Literally no idea what you're talking about.
But the fact that there was a huge intersection between the industrial music scene and these hardcore occult practitioners and the current AI leaders in Silicon Valley, I was like, what have I stumbled into? What is going on here?
So when Aleister Crowley's secretary says, of course, rock and roll is demonic, basically, I mean,
Demonic
you've got the horseshoe
being
effect.
just
right here. So here you have Aleister Crowley, like, famous
counterculture.
Satanist.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say he would say he's a Gnostic, but you do get into a thing of like, well, what is Gnosticism?
Yeah, well, that Satanist is my description,
right.
But it seems obvious to me. But whatever, a guy who's like worshiping demons.
Heavily into occult.
When his secretary says rock and roll is demonic, agreeing with like every the famous
every
Baptist
pastor, every kid who cried because his dad took his Emerson, Lake and Palmer albums in the 70s.
I guess it all was very obvious, right?
Well, that's how I knew I could finally make the show. Is because there's.
I mean, of course it's demonic. Like, duh.
Well, I think a lot of it. I mean, you can't argue with Aleister Crowley's secretary. I think it's the main.
That's right.
But that was what's interesting. Why I finally wanted to do the show is for so many decades you couldn't do a show like this because everyone gets so defensive about rock and roll, about taking a child's toy away. Where it's like
one of the biggest. This is just a political thing. But it's this meme of like, we can't talk about this thing. I feel like people have been complaining about culture or counterculture or stuff related to music since probably the very first musical thing was probably played. Like, I'm sure the first caveman who banged on a rock spawned a critic like instantly.
Oh, shut the fuck up, man.
This whole thing of like, we could never criticize this thing, or like we couldn't criticize rock and roll or whatever else.
Oh, they got to you and 5 people for Hitler.
Oh. Piers, Queen. I don't know what any old people look like. Churchill and Chamberlain?
Yeah. Huh. Oh, yeah, Chamberlain, yeah.
Met Hitler? Oh, Churchill, Chamberlain, I see. Okay, that's pretty good.
It's not 4, though.
closer connection to Churchill. When did Churchill die? Oh! Who did Penrose meet? Look into that guy. That was an old dude. Penrose has got to be connected earlier here somewhere. Okay? Find him.
Makes me sad.
Fuck a sec.
It's like, can we do a show
Duke of
that has...
Windsor. Queen Elizabeth, Duke of Windsor, Hitler. Possibly? Is there a photo of that?
I don't know.
It has pastors, it has Christians, it has rabbis, it has all these people who talk about the religious aspect of music. But then could you also get these other people who are into the darker side of things to also talk about it? And for so long, especially with a lot of Christians, they would be so defensive about it. There's nothing wrong with it. I can do what I want with this. That you couldn't actually, you can find...
That led to where we are now.
I mean, he was commissioned by this in England. And this is about the unity of the crowd and the shouting. Never got more pushback for any, you know, as a journalist, whenever you ask, talk about
prison,
Yeah, so that's, but here's a question I've had for you. Over your years as a journalist, and doing tons of TV, I know in the last few years you've been more interested in spiritual life and the Bible and seeing spiritual meaning and stuff. Is there a story you've covered in the last few, or just a story you've covered at all, where at the beginning you took a much more secular, much more cut and dried approach to it, that now, if you today had covered that back then, you would see
every story. I mean, especially war, which I have covered in person and certainly talked a lot about over the years. I just saw it as a product, the sort of failure of statecraft and nations act rationally. One country wants this territory either to conquer or to reclaim it, and this country doesn't want to give it up, and so they have a war over it. I had a very secular understanding of war, and it was the First World War that changed my view. Probably 15 years ago, well, what was it, 10 years ago, so the anniversary of the outbreak of the war, 1914. There was a series of symposia in Europe on what was that? It destroyed Christian Europe and maybe forever. And the apogee of human civilization was 1913, obviously. Right. And then it was destroyed and it never recovered. And a bunch of other empires fell, including the Ottoman. And
what does that mean? Why does he think that we peaked in 1913 or?
Because essentially it was the start of the fall of the monarchies.
Oh, okay.
He is deeply an aristocrat.
Gotcha. Oh, God.
I don't even, would it be count? Yeah, I guess he's technically a Christo-aristocrat. There we go.
Okay.
Austro-Hungarian and all this stuff. It's it reshuffled the map and gave rise not just to the Second World War, but to the world that we now live in. So how did it start? Gavril Princip kills Archduke Ferdinand in Sarajevo, and okay, but how does it follow that Christian Europe commits suicide in the wake of one assassination in the Balkans? What doesn't even make sense?
Right.
And there was no consensus 100 years later on why the war started.
Right.
And that's when you begin to ask real questions what was that? And it was, of course, it was spiritual in its origin. And so is the war in Ukraine, and so is what's happening in Gaza, and so is basically all human activity is influenced by the spiritual realm, which once again is as real as anything that we're doing here, as real as the material world. And so that, to me, is someone who's interested in history in a very amateur way, but still passionately interested.
Nothing with political pacts, right?
No.
Wow. I am not assessing the human experience in its totality. I'm only seeing a small part of it. And so now I really make an effort, which is difficult at the age of 56, to relearn patterns, but I'm trying to assess human behavior in light, again, of the in light of the totality of the human experience, much of which is influenced by the spiritual realm.
What?
Where is he hands him the thing.
What's the thing? The number thing?
Yeah.
And it's hard. Because my default is always this person's pissed at this person, or this person wants more money, or this person wants to sleep, but that's only part of the story.
Funny is, you've been on TV for decades, and I've heard your voice for decades, so part of my brain is someone obviously left the TV on. Or a second delay, and I'm like, dude, he's talking to you?
Sorry.
No. And I'm like, oh, wait, that's me. He's asking me if I'm ready to go.
So this is all kind of new to me, and when I talk to people who are, lifelong in the beginning of time, and for, again, since we dropped the atom bomb, we lied to her. It's been left to a Jerry Falwell, and when I talk to someone like you who's clearly thought about this much more deeply than I have and over a much longer period.
I'm a man of many books and PDFs.
Yeah, but it doesn't sound like it's shocking to you.
Well, that's the thing that we're going back to talking about earlier in terms of it's a mixture of, in my case, having read a lot, but also knowing people and knowing some people involved. We were talking earlier about, when you have a father who works in journalism, just a general sense of stuff, because you're that guy's friends with my dad. That can't be true.
That's exactly the life I've lived. That's exactly right. Too close. Right. Proximity causes blindness.
But you didn't know that you hired a Satanist. What, dude? I don't know. He finds ignorance all the time, and then he goes back on it, literally in the same episode.
Yeah.
But
Weird. You don't.
But it's tremendous earlier. But with my grandfather in particular, he had some like insight into like one of his best friends was killed by my grandmother's house grandmother and goes dead there. Say when you and you would know this from your wow, that's something no one can ever figure out. You have enough information that you're able to go like, no, my dad knows him, and anyone else can get to 40%, which is still huge in the grand scheme of things.
So I've had the they're described as one thing, and I know them really who are clearly about just know people for press anyway.
Bring up something I always think about in regards to the Bible. That one of the reasons Scandal gets her husband a pure act of evil. Most feeling he wants to set,
but God prevented.
So God chose to set. That's another thing that's underreported in history. Wife as even though there's no necessarily hard evidence, it's your wife's take on stuff. You don't ignore it. But that's
I have ignored it.
You're like I've actually never.
Well, we could search the transcript if you know a word.
It's going to be like, can you look at this diagram, or like, can you look at that's the numogram. It might be there, yeah.
Right at the very beginning. Did we miss it? Maybe.
No, I don't think it's that. Sorry, it might be. Is there another one? Look at this graph. Look up, numogram.
Oh wait. Oh, we were close to it. It's probably this. Yeah.
Maybe it's 65. That'll help you with the 66th. So the Bible's, it's about a lot about trees. And so one of Nick Land's favorite things that the CCRU, his academic collective, that they ended up coming through, they say it was a channeling, or it came to them when they were staying at Aleister Crowley's house in England in 1998. And they came up with something called the numogram. And people listening to this won't be able to see it, but I want you to hold that up. That is his.
I want you to hold this up.
The numogram. We have the numogram. Okay. Printed off on the same throwaway paper that he has.
System that is.
Can we just like
If you're familiar with.
Can you just sort of hold it up? Yeah. What can you garner from this?
From this?
Yeah. Also, I don't do videos on the Dark Enlightenment. I just do videos on general philosophy. I just happened to start with Nick Land because I thought he was silly.
I feel like this is the topology of the world that we live in right now. Like you can see here, like we start off at the foundational, which is number one, but we can abstract away in higher dimensions and lower dimensions of spirituality. So you can see how like the 1 and the 8 connect, and that makes sense too, because if you lean 8 over, it's the infinite, and we would have an infinite connection in like the lower worlds. And then you can also see how like when we speak to our own reality, it loops back. This is the hyper, and then the hyper reality. So like from 1 to hyper reality. You can see like 2, 8, like 2 infinites, like you've got your hermetical connections and everything. I don't know. Sorry.
How does he get to 45 here?
45?
Yeah, how does he get to 45 for the audience?
That's the middle age crisis that every person experiences very deep into the...
You get it at 45 now?
Isn't that middle age?
I guess, yeah.
45, 50, I think, is like supposed to be like middle age, right?
I thought people got their middle life crisis at like 40. But
I feel like midlife crisis is once the kids have like left, it's like that world of your that realm. So when your kids are 18, 19, 20, moving away to college, that's like your midlife because you don't have a purpose. And
so like what's 3 and 6 and then 21 and 6 again? You guys can see that.
What's 3 and 6 and 21? So this is like more fundamental beneath our reality, and these are like the higher things that are abstracted more from our reality. And you can see like the highest thing we have is like, so 3, 6 is like 3 represents perfection, 6 is like evil. So you've got like your perfect evil, but you also have 21 is the 3 times 7, and 7 represents goodness. So it's like the eternal struggle between good and evil, and that's my take.
I see. Okay. And then, but also 3 out of 6 is 6?
Well, because everything loops back to Satan at the end. That's why these guys are transhuman and above humans, because they realize humanity needs to be defeated because evil will always win over.
Well, you can't say that they're transhuman because that would mean that they believe that they want to use like technology to transcend being human.
Okay, they're they're post-human.
I guess it's still kind of transhuman is like a branch of.
They hate humans. They want humans to die.
Oh, you mean the CCRU, not the CCRU.
Whatever these guys are.
Yeah, they are definitely transhumanists, all of them.
Based. Wait, that means they want their minds to be transferred to electronic devices, or that means they just want humans to be gone and AI to take over and do everything?
They want some sort of like input, or not input. They want some sort of integration between their bodies and technology.
Gotcha.
It depends who you ask, person to person, who is in the CCRU.
Based. Okay.
With the Kabbalah tree of life. Are you familiar with that? The symbol of that?
No.
It barely.
I probably should have printed that out too.
I wore a red rubber band from a newspaper on my wrist for most of my life, given to me by my father, just as a because he worked at a newspaper, and I've been accused many times of being in Kabbalah. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm an Episcopalian to read.
Sure.
I don't know shit about Kabbalah, so no, I don't know what the Kabbalah tree.
Didn't strike me as a Kabbalah. Okay. So long story short, the pneumogram is, Nick Land, he was on this podcast about a month ago. I think it's Mikey Downs has this podcast. We finally explained it a little bit. He doesn't show how he uses it specifically, but it's a system of divination that he uses. He uses it every 5 minutes to be in contact with the outside, with what he calls the lemurs, which again comes from William Burroughs, which comes from Theosophy. And Burroughs has said it's
and the lemurs are demons.
Yes, he'll use demons and lemurs. The word lemurs originally goes back to Roman times and means spirit. So these are the spirits that he hears whisper.
It's literally related to it's pre-continental drift theory of Lemuria, which is a continent that they thought existed before they realized, continents drifted and there was not an absent continent there. It was Lemuria. So no, it's not demons. It's like the way that you would associate the spiritual with demons is the connection that he's trying to make here. I don't know. Like it gets so far abstracted from what the actual writing was that it's like, what are you doing?
In his ear, not unlike Crowley's holy guardian angel, which Crowley said did help him dictate books. He said it was a whisper he'd hear in the back of his head after he'd made contact.
Wait, has this guy ever spoken to Nick Land publicly or privately at all? No, okay. All right.
I mean, I'm sure the thing is that Nick Land will probably talk to anyone. Mm-hmm. I think Elon recently retweeted him or something. Or like replied to him or something. Okay. Which I was just kind of like, why are we here? How did we get to this reality?
You'll feel that way watching Elon's Twitter for any period of time, I think.
For what it's worth, people want to look up some of the entities Crowley said he was in touch with. One of them, Lamb, in 1917 or so, looks pretty similar to what would later be called a gray alien.
It's just to kind of esoteric at this point, but it's entirely. It's if you want to go into the rest of this, we can also just dunk on Andreessen.
Oh, for what is a thing that Andreessen has done recently?
The lack of introspection.
Oh, we watched that clip earlier.
You already did? Okay.
Yeah, I have no idea what that... Oh, that just seemed to be one of those, what you mentioned, like the post-enlightenment, anti-enlightenment thoughts that basically rejecting every single new liberal idea or whatever. Yeah.
I think he just really thought he was cooking for a second.
I feel like the way every time I hear Mark Andreessen talk about anything, but it always seems like the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Yeah. I don't know if I've heard Andreessen say a single intelligent thing ever in my entire life. I hate that guy so much.
I like how he's just actually thinking about anything and just being, because I remember he tried to change the definition on Twitter and he's like, thinking about anything and ruminating on it is obviously bad. And it's like, no, bro, that wasn't what you were saying. You were just saying being introspective is dumb.
Yeah, sometimes people will make, it's like a human thing, but somebody will make a very, I don't know if you say outlandish claim, but like a claim that's very far out there that would seems like it would be very difficult to defend. And then when you push them on it, they redefine the claim into something that's not even interesting anymore. So what you just said, I don't know if he tweeted that, but if he did, he's like, well, rumination is bad. Well, it's like, well, obviously rumination is bad, but that's not even an interesting thing. If you go on a show and you're like, I don't think people should ruminate on thoughts. Yeah. Really? I think definitionally ruminate, I think is negatively spun. That's normatively a negatively loaded word. Rumination on things. Exactly. Yeah. But to go from, also, that's not the way that he presented the idea either when he was on that, when we were watching that fucking clip.
No, I just saw the tweet and I was like, is this really how he's going to spin this one? But okay, go off.
Cringe. Wait, fuck. Real quick. What was the name of the guy with the sword? Fucking the tech CEO guy with the sword. Somebody tell me who this was. He wears glasses. I don't know what any of these tech CEO guys look like, and I don't remember their names.
Nick Landish. Alex Karp?
Is it that guy? Do you know who that guy is?
Why does it sound familiar?
Is he a tech CEO guy? Oh, it's this guy. God. Oh, but Palantir. God, fuck. I hate all of these fucking tech CEO fucking people. I hate them all so much. Where's this stupid fucking sword?
Oh, also, for anyone who's curious about the video, there is an ARG element into it, but find it if you can.
Is that the QR code for the fake sponsorship?
No.
Oh. What does the QR code go to?
Well, I mean, I guess you'd have to find out.
Okay. Wait, is the sword not here? Whatever. I hate this guy and I hate all these guys.
16?
Because they're tech bros and they're in San Francisco. So every female interviewer they have has to look like they're basically on the verge of being an Epstein victim or ex-victim, I guess now.
Rough.
Right. Well, I guess you would still be a current victim of a dead guy, but yeah. John Carmack, I think you mean? No. Carmack was the guy who did the original work on whatever the Doom engine was, right? I don't remember what it was called. It's not Unreal 1, is it?
Was it not this guy?
It is this guy. I recognize his stupid fucking face. I just don't know where the sword thing came from. Oh, is it here? I hate all these people.
Oh!
You've never seen this thing before? The guy?
Vomit. Or she looks so... Why are they playing that music?
Because he's so fucking cool, dude.
What should I do? Should I not do anything?
She's like, can I go home now, please? Well, you were busy, having sex. I was busy studying the blade. Like, what the fuck, man?
Based. These are the only weapons we'll have left when the AI take over, because they'll destroy all of our munitions. So you'll have to learn how to fight with pole arms and swords. Yeah.
And what if they destroy our swords?
They can't do that. There will be reasons why. It's all contained here.
It's
You just
all
wouldn't
in here.
understand.
It's all in here,
there.
guys. Yeah. This is why. Yeah, no. This makes me deeply. With
Wait.
Molly O'Shea.
And then have you seen the Elon Fork thing?
Must I?
He's so cool.
Internet amazed? No. I love it when, like, everyone's just like, oh my god, you're so smart. Wow, I'm so proud of you.
He's entering the hyperdimension. True.
And it's just, who's gonna stop him? It's gonna be like, man, you're just fucking dumb.
Once the new administration comes in, who knows? Yeah, I don't know. Oh, wait, final meme.
Final meme.
Do you know why do you remember when Elon was doing the jump thing a lot when he was on the campaign trail? He was like jumping a lot on stage and people were kind of laughing at him for it.
I mean, kind of.
Do you know why he was jumping?
No.
This is probably the cringiest thing.
Was he like doing the thing that deer do to like fend off predators?
So Elon is obsessed with the letter X.
Oh!
He was, if you look at his stupid fucking
Yes,
jumps.
yes,
Yeah, he was trying to like
yes.
make a fucking X. That's what
You can't bend your knees, man.
Oh my God. I can't believe this is my country's politics.
This is... If only it was still, like, funny?
Yeah, it was funny before they were bombing Iran and school children and everything, but...
Yeah, no. I think I lost a... Ooh. That one's a little...
The Hitler one?
Yeah.
Oh my God, where people tried so desperately... The Elon things were this shit. That was kind of, and he did it twice. He fired off 2 of them, rapid fire, and they tried to find like any fucking still image or video of like Kamala like doing anything, and it's like, let's see the videos, chief. The Elon shit was pretty yikes. Yeah, I don't know.
Why must we do such things? He's like literally South African, dude. Like, what are you doing?
I feel like he unironically was doing it intentionally, not because he's a neo-Nazi, because he knew it would be edgy and funny and based and epic,
like,
and yeah.
So it's very much like it's like Twitter 2010 cringe.
Basically, it's kind of where he comes from. But a lot of conservatives today are like still trapped in like 2014, 2015, where they'll come out, like especially for media takes, they're like obsessed with like, oh, look at how woke and blah, blah, blah. But a lot of the talking points they're using are literally ripped from like 2015, 2016. Like they haven't
they inverted the use of the terms?
What do you mean?
Like no, I'm going to butcher this because I saw it for like 5 seconds on Twitter and I was like, this is just dumb. It was like essentially people on the right were saying like things that were very like pop psychology adjacent, while everyone on the left was saying like, oh, like MOG, like X pill, X core, whatever, what have you.
Sure, maybe, yeah. They do a lot of the I hate all these people. I have nothing good to say about any of these people.
I don't think I do either.
One of the funniest characterizations I heard of all the red pill stuff was the idea that like obviously these people attack, like the biggest meme for so long was the whole like gender studies thing or whatever. But if you really think about it, like red pill podcasts are kind of just gender studies for men. And these were like the most popular podcasts in the world for like a year and a half.
Did they not realize that?
No.
Like it's literally just intersectionality, but like a focus on men.
And yeah, and white people based.
Like it was something that I think Jordan Peterson said quite, I don't know if he said it specifically, but it was what he was alluding to is like the white man is the true neutral.
That's awesome. I support that. Do you think Jordan Peterson is alive still?
I think his daughter is slowly trying to kill him for the estate.
Jesus.
Well, she's just feeding him like raw meat.
I think he hasn't made any media appearances for a while. I think he might be dead.
I
think we would know. There'd be like a report or something, right? Maybe? I don't know if people can die secretly.
His dead body.
Jesus. Maybe though.
It's just like why would you gate him all the way to Arizona, make him sell his house? We were looking at that, by the way. It was very expensive, and we were just like, no way we can afford that. But it's very funny that we could probably get like a tour, but and like see the room that he has that one photo where he's crying in. But also like I have a hard time believing that he's doing anything but kind of like rotting in her basement.
Wait, is that all?
now.
He lives with his daughter now? Is that true?
I believe so.
Ooh, I wonder if he's like on hospice or something. And he's like on the way out.
I don't know.
Legitimately?
I don't know if she would put him in hospice. I think she would just,
Okay. Do you have any?
She just wants, yeah. She
Just
wants you to say,
maybe.
Rob.
Do you have any final thoughts or feelings or words or things or?
I don't know. I feel like I pretty succinctly took my take on the Neogram, the Dark Enlightenment, all of that. If you guys do feel like interacting with my channel, I'm not going to do probably more Dark Enlightenment stuff until I feel like hating myself a little bit again. But I do really like going into philosophy, so if you feel interested in having that demystified for you, like Lacan's Graphs of Desire or anything to that extent, feel free to follow at Tropicalstuck.
Tropicalstuck. Is that your same name on Twitter and all the other platforms?
Everywhere except Instagram, but if you look at my YouTube, that's where my Instagram is linked.
Okay. Thanks.
So yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. I'm going to unplug all this mic shit and everything, and I will be back. Stay safe. Be careful.
Bye, chat.
Have some piano musics. I'll be back. Be careful.